Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Islamic Connie podcast. Welcome back, guys, to a new live stream. I know I haven't done a live stream in a while, so hopefully this one should be fun. Today we are joined by Brother MENJ. We're going to discuss a debate that happened between him and Apus. So it should be fun. So let me bring on Brother MENJ. Give me a second. There we go. Ta-da! Assalamualaikum, bro. How are you?
Walaikum salam warahmatullah. I hope everyone can hear me loud and clear. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Alhamdulillah. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. So how's your debate with Apus, and why did you debate him? He's a Christian now.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons why I wanted to debate him was because he's a Christian now. Okay. Secondly, I didn't actually plan the debate. I mean, it was pretty much offered to me. It was and I've been pushing for James to get me on MDD. I can't be picky with whom I am supposed to debate with. By the way, just as a side note, I was supposed to debate David Wood several months ago, but that didn't work out. He just pulled out or something. He wasn't interested, I guess. So and then that ended up with Avery, God Logic, and Apus,
Okay.
with Isa Kabir, who was of course at the time still an atheist. But then several weeks later, which was 2 weeks ago, right? I got the email from MDD saying, "Hey, would you like to debate AP
Brother
on
Ungu Travel is
Christianity?"
here. Assalamualaikum, bro.
Oh, walaikum salam. Yeah, walaikum salam. But yeah, so yeah, to cut a long story short, I just thought that I want to reach out to the audience. The point of debating Apus is not to convince him because he's already made up his mind. The point is to present Islamic apologetics, Muslim apologetics on MDD, and because there hasn't been an actual debate involving Muslim versus Christian, unless if it involves. I think Jake was there and Jake, the Muslim metaphysician, and Daniel was there, but there wasn't anyone else. So so I'm pretty much the third person, the third
So,
Muslim who's
so,
been
so
involved in
speaking
this.
speaking of the debate, something funny happened during the debate, and we'll discuss that.
Oh, really?
Something
I
like in
don't.
ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll
That was
discuss
weird.
that inshallah. Let's actually
Of
start
course, of course,
watching
of course,
the
of course, of course.
brother, which was a destroy PC apostate.
Honestly, I don't know whether that was a mistake or whether he purposely
Yeah,
shared that, because I think it was dumb anyway. Anyway, to do that, yeah.
yeah. I don't think it was an accident. I think he's been
Yeah,
like
yeah. He was trying to be. I don't know, trying to be
I think he accidentally shared it. I don't think it was like
planned.
intentional. I mean,
Oh,
he
okay.
wouldn't be that stupid. And the thing is that like this guy has been like the thing is that if you well, like why become a Christian after bashing Islam for so long, right? I mean, like everything he said about like Islam applies more on Christianity, if not less.
Exactly, exactly. And I pointed that out throughout the debate, but he didn't seem to. He either rejected it or he just simply ignored it. It's one or the other. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
one or
yeah.
the other. In fact, I would say that during the debate, he was wearing the atheist cap. So he was actually an atheist during the debate, pretending to be a Christian.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's a Christian for the views.
I don't
For
know.
an
Maybe,
atheist,
perhaps,
and
perhaps.
maybe he's like an actual atheist.
Yeah, but
He's
I don't.
accused with
But
money.
honestly, I think he was theologically weak. He doesn't even understand what his religion was about. He
Yeah.
just he
Honestly, I
simply
think
follows. Yeah.
him debating you was like a very dumb decision, considering the experience you have in regards to Christianity.
But
But
nah, I
you know
mean,
what?
I'm
Let's
yeah,
start watching the debate, and I think we'll
yeah.
see what I'm talking about.
Sure, sure, sure. Of course, inshallah.
Um, so let me share the screen. Uh, I think StreamYard kind of changed the outlet of it.
Yeah, they changed the
Yeah.
layout. I think a bit of the controls and everything. Yeah,
I
you
think
need to
it's okay.
click.
Wait,
Yeah, you
here we
need
go.
to click on the present button.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the one. Yeah. All
All
right.
right,
There.
all
Okay.
right. So let me put it on like on two speed or like do you want like 1.5? What is your tolerance level of Apus? two, 1.5? Bro, you're muted.
Sorry, 1.5 is fine. Yeah.
All right. Let's do 1.5 then. All right, let's start this minute.
Viewers.
By the way, can you guys hear the
Right,
audio?
thank you, James, for that
Can
opening.
you hear the audio?
Yeah, there's some crackling
So,
sound on your
I
side. I'm
begin
not
with
sure.
Salam
Okay,
ala Nabi
now it's gone. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil
Oh wait a
anbiya'i
minute,
wal
still there.
mursalin, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. So today we are examining two worldviews, Islam
Is
and
it okay now?
Christianity, and their respective capacities to
There's some
foster
background noise from
cohesive,
your end.
just, and thriving society. So I'll be
Really?
Sounds like
There should-
yeah, sounds
should be-
crackling. Sounds like crackling sound. Some
maybe
sort
it's
of
a fan. Not sure.
no, I think it's your mic. Some static noise. Yeah, some static noise or something.
I can turn it off.
Yeah. Okay, now it's much better.
All right. I think.
Oops, so when you play it, it has some noise.
I think it's the fan noise. The fan is playing, so
Okay,
you're gonna have to ignore that. But
all right,
it's
all
really
right.
hot.
Okay,
You cannot,
okay,
like,
all right.
stop.
I understand. Yeah, I understand.
sharing my slides. Give me a moment. So can you see my slides?
All clear.
All right, awesome. So
Yeah, this
I'll be
was a
pleading
bit
for the case
embarrassing because I made a
for
mistake
Islam.
here.
It is my position
This-
that Islam presents
Yeah, this wasn't my slides. This was my text, my speech.
By the way, like, do we need to play your portion, or like, do you want us to play like only the Apus portion?
No, just play my portion. It's very important that you play that because it correlates with what Apus responded to, which is basically zero. Okay, so you need to show that Apus did not engage with any of my arguments. So so in order to show that, you need to show what my arguments were.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
a viable Weltanschauung that unites law, ethics, and culture under the principles of Tawhid, promoting societal harmony. To evaluate this, I'll be proposing a consistent framework which consists of unity of vision, human nature and responsibility, reason and revelation, social ethics, blueprint for civilization.
One last thing is, just in case you meant to share your slides, I think technically we're actually seeing a Word document now that I look more closely. So just so you know, if you need to share a different window, you can let me know if that is the case, though.
That's not the one that I'm supposed to be sharing.
Okay, no problem.
We have a comment here. I'm going to the Christian Noah's Ark Science Museum in Kentucky and learn how Jesus crossed the Dead Sea on a floating dinosaur. Wait, what? Learn how the salt content of the Dead Sea helped Jesus and his pet. Wait,
Okay,
what? Wait, is that real? Is that like a
I think he's
museum?
trying to be sarcastic. Nah, there's no such museum.
No,
as
no,
far
no.
as
I
know.
think there is actually a museum. There is a Noah's Ark museum.
There's a
for
Noah's
people.
Ark Science Museum.
Yeah. I think there is one. Yeah. Because I've seen. I don't know if there's some atheist channel that actually featured it. I think there's an actual kind of like Noah's Ark museum, science museum, but it's actually Christian science.
I think I found it. Yeah, I think I found it. Let me share the link.
Yeah. Share it.
Let me share the link in the private chat so that you can. I think. Can I share it? Yeah.
Yeah. Share it. Share it, bro.
Yeah, I think this is the one. I think this is the one.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Is this the one?
Can it go down?
Yeah. Is this the one? Yeah. Yeah.
Is
There you go.
it like Noah's Ark?
Yeah. Noah's Ark. Yes. There. Experience Bible history at the life-size Noah's Ark. Yeah. And it's located in Kentucky. So I think this is the one that he's referring to.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can it go up a bit? Let me see the.
Yeah.
Think bigger.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. This is the one. Yeah. This is the one.
So they made a ark where Jesus rides a dinosaur. Apparently, that's what he's saying.
I don't know. I think that's just I think he's being sarcastic about the last part, but there definitely is a Noah's Ark replica in Kentucky. Yeah. So.
Oh, by the way, can you see if there is actually a statue or something of like Jesus riding?
Let me see. Education. Nah, I don't think so. There isn't. Yeah. It's just Bible archaeology. Yeah. What else? Tickets. Yeah, just tickets and all this. Yeah, there's nothing else.
Hold on,
Find a hotel.
let me see if I can find it.
see inside. Maybe you can. Maybe this. Yeah. Yeah. This is all that is available. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Living quarters and all that. Yeah. They actually have the living quarters of Noah's Ark.
Oh,
Okay. Okay. Right. Okay.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious. Anyway,
Hmm.
so oh, he says that it's building, not a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It is a building. Yeah, but it
boat
doesn't
won't
matter.
float.
It's a replica anyway. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah. I
replica.
think the whole thing is a replica.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's get back to the debate. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. I didn't know. I mean, I have seen it before that they made like
Yeah.
a museum, but I didn't know like they have
Yeah.
this whole kind of like whole thing about it.
Yeah. Seems
But
to be
yeah,
a
it's
thing.
funny.
Yeah. I didn't know that it
Yeah.
was a thing in America.
Yeah, let's continue.
Yeah, sure.
Thanks
This
for
is
your.
the one.
There you go. We
Yeah,
see
this-
it crystal
the-
clear.
all right. Sorry, I just shared across my speech, my text speech. Okay. So anyway, to continue. Okay. This comparison is not about individual believers or flawed political regimes. We are going to examine each religion's ideal teaching, Sharia versus biblical law, as comprehensive systems, not isolated moral sayings. Historical focus will center on formative periods, basically Islam's golden age and medieval Christendom, since later developments in the West reflect secular, not scriptural values. And with that in mind, let us begin. So the first criterion in the framework, unity of vision. Islam's concept of Tawheed ensures a consistent worldview where spiritual beliefs seamlessly inform legal systems.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, I'm guessing this is your main core argument, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
Among
Islam has a
one out.
consistent.
Yeah, 1 out of 5. Yeah, 1 out of 5. So I was saying that Tawheed is the basis of Islamic civilization, and with the coherence of Tawheed, Islam integrated ethics, law, governance, aesthetics. And when you
Yeah.
compare that to Christianity, you don't see that in Christianity. In fact,
Yeah, you see a mess.
Christians, yeah, you see a mess. Yeah,
You
you
see a
see a
mess.
total mess. Yeah, you see a total mess. So that's what I. In fact, you can see that right there in the slides. I say this: Islam creates spiritually cohesive societies. Christianity promotes fragmentation. So that's the first point. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Ethical norms and cultural expressions. This unity is also evident in Islamic art and architecture, which reflect cosmic harmony. Conversely,
Yeah. Which is
Christianity's
reflected
delineation
in Christian
between
art
religious
and Islamic art.
spheres
There.
has resulted
Yeah.
in diverse national
Hold on,
traditions.
let me-
Christianity's delineation
Oh, sorry.
architecture
Yeah.
Look at Islamic art and look at Christian
Yeah.
art.
Yeah. You compare the both, you can see which is much more coherent. You see. Just,
I mean,
this is one example.
the Christian art looks like a comic book, like really bad comic book.
Exactly, that's my point. Yeah, that was my point.
Islamic calligraphy
But-
looks like an actual art.
Yeah, yeah. You can
I
see
mean,
that.
not
You can see the aesthetics, the beauty of the aesthetic, which is defined, which is encapsulated in Tawheed by Tawheed. You see. So this is a very academic point. Okay, and this has been discussed by Muslim scholars for decades. I took the information from Muslim books discussing this issue. It's not something which I made up or I thought of it myself. It's something which serious Muslim scholars have discussed. Yeah.
Brother John Lovell said, "Don't bother warning that his believers. Allah has made it impossible for them to believe, so He can torture them." That's not necessarily true. I mean, like for us, like we don't know who's going to hell and whose hearts have been
Yeah.
sealed.
Exactly.
It's possible that maybe people like Apus, their hearts are sealed, but the thing is that we don't know. But at the same time,
Yeah,
like,
who knows? Maybe towards the end of his life, he might
Yeah.
repent and become a Muslim.
and also
Who knows?
like he has a very large audience. It's possible that some of them have open heart. So it is. What
I won't be surprised if some of AP's audience, after watching his videos, and then they said, okay, is AP telling the truth? And then they do their own research, and then they realize that
our
and
live
then-
stream.
and then they realize that nothing maybe they come to our live stream or some other people's live streams, and then Muslims live streams, and then they realize whatever AP is saying is not true, and then they do the research for themselves, and then they become Muslim because of this. As a matter of record, I want to point out that at least two people from those who have come to my live stream, Christians, by the way, they have embraced Islam recently. I got to know that they embraced Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this guy is a troll. I think he's trying to troll. Sounds like
this guy. Okay, I think he's. I don't think he's a Muslim. Yeah.
By the way, I'm gonna delete your comment. If you're gonna troll or waste my time like a moron, then you're gonna get banned.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't think the guy is serious in discussing anything. Yeah.
Yeah, he thought he could sneak in. Anyway, so let's continue.
Yeah.
Which reflect cosmic harmony. Conversely, Christianity's delineation between religious and secular spheres has resulted in diverse national traditions and at times conflicting moral standards, leading to societal discord. Now the second point, human nature and responsibility. Islam.
So that was the first point, right? So which is that okay.
Yeah, this is the second point. Yeah.
I delete their comments. All right. So that was the first point, right? Which is that basically the Christian ethics basically leads to confusion, right?
Exactly.
Brother, Assalamualaikum, bro. Walaikum assalam. So the first point is that kind of like Christian ethics leads to confusion.
Yes.
By the way, can you like provide like some kind of historical example, like where it happened or like how it happened? So maybe you could like.
You mean for the first point?
Yeah, as I asked for that.
Yeah. So if you look at the Islamic Golden Age, you find that Muslims have pretty much practiced or implemented the idea of Tawhid in art, in science, in every facets of life. Okay, everything that we Muslims have done.
No, I mean like from the Christian perspective, like you were saying that the Christians don't have this kind of like Tawhid, right? So how does that lead to them like you know?
Yeah, as you can if you look at
you're making.
Right. So if you look at Christian history, you'll find that Christians for centuries they have no idea how God is defined. They have disputes on who Jesus was. Okay, there's some so there were so many controversies, and then of course up to the Council of Nicaea, it was only then that the Roman Emperor decided that at the time Constantine convened a council of elders, I would say, and they all agreed. Some say forcefully by Constantine that Jesus was co-equal, co-substantial, co-everything with God. So therefore, Jesus must be God as well. And
they
then,
basically downloaded two more versions of God.
Yes, that's right. They added another God to their version of God. So it became two gods. But then they say that Jesus is. They still say that they believe in one God. You see,
brother Doctor is here. Assalamualaikum, bro. Welcome to the stream. Brother is here. Love you, brother, so much.
Walaikum salam, brother. Good to see you, mashallah, brother Doctor. So, anyways, going back to the point, if you look at medieval Christian Europe, the church was very repressive. They basically they just denounce, they just deny Christians the right to free opinion, free speech.
I think back then I think back then many people couldn't read the Bible, right?
Yeah, they couldn't read the Bible. So because basically the church was in power, they forbade any translations of the Bible. So everything that they know is from what their priests or bishops told them. Okay.
So this is something well known, by the way. Let me see if I can find sources for that. But let's continue, inshallah.
Teaches that humans are born in a state of purity, known as fitra, and every Muslim are accountable for their actions. Christianity, however, with its doctrine of original sin, posits that humans inherit guilt, necessitating redemption through external means. This can lead to a dependency on institutional absolution rather than encouraging individual moral agency. Now the third point, reason and revelation. Islamic civilization has long harmonized revelation with reason. The Islamic Golden Age saw scholars.
Did you get the second point?
Whose canon of medicine became.
Did you understand the second point? Previously. Second slide.
No, religious and secular spheres has resulted.
Okay.
Now the second point. human
Alright,
nature and
this one.
responsibility. Islam teaches that humans are born in a state of
Yeah. Do you get the second point? No, you're muted, brother.
Yeah, sorry
Okay.
about that. So basically, you're saying that what Islam teaches is basically that humans are pure, like we have the fitra, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala made us pure.
Yes,
But when it
yes,
comes to Christianity, they believe that humans are sinners from birth, right?
yes,
Which makes
yes.
no sense.
That's what they
Babies
believe.
like evil people,
Everyone was born with sin, so we are all
born,
evil.
born with
Yeah,
sin. Uh, you know, evil sinner babies.
yeah.
So
Everything,
that's what
everyone
they
is
believe,
sinful.
which is
Yes,
ridiculous, obviously.
yeah,
But
yes.
that's what they believe, and so they need to drown babies on like waters to like get rid of that
Baptism, yeah, the baptism.
baptism. Uh, and that definitely can affect the society as a whole, I think, because like if you're in a society where you believe that even babies are not like sinless, then
Yeah,
of course like in things like abortion and all these other kind of nonsense that can be
yeah.
easily propagated in the society, right? Because the thing is that like from a
Yes, that's
Christian
right.
perspective, what's the argument you could make against like atheists who say that, oh, yeah, abortion is okay, right?
Yeah,
Because the thing is
yeah,
that you believe that babies are sinners,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So
Exactly.
like even if they like get rid of them, like they're getting rid of sinners, this is a very weird like concept, right? Like in Christianity,
Mm,
so
yeah,
like you can find loopholes to justify that, and which is
yeah.
why I think this is much difficult for Christians to like tackle this kind of like secular problems than with
Exactly,
Muslims, because
exactly,
our
exactly.
theology
That
is,
that
is
that is
clear.
why that is why you find in Christian societies they have resorted to secular means to separate religion from political other aspects of life. Because if they were to use
Uh,
Christianity to judge their lives, that is going to be messed up, like what happened during the medieval Christian Europe times. Yeah,
yeah, that. Let's continue.
purity, known as fitra, and every Muslim are accountable for their actions. Christianity, however, with its doctrine of original sin, posits that humans inherit guilt, necessitating redemption through external means. This can lead to a dependency on institutional absolution rather than encouraging individual moral agency. Now the third point, reason and revelation. Islamic civilization has long harmonized revelation with reason. The Islamic Golden Age.
Okay, we're gonna get to this. I found
yeah,
an interesting article that I want to
yeah.
share about Christians not being allowed to kind of like. Hold on, let me. How do you share things? Stop screen.
Mm.
Oh, hold on. Here we go. Share screen. Here we go. This is the one. So this is a article from Huffington Post. It basically talks about why Christians were denied access to their Bible for 1,000 years. So this happened for like nearly 1,000 years. So this is written by Bernard Starr. He's a psychologist, a journalist, and a professor. So basically, the point he makes is that the church actually discouraged the populace from reading the Bible on their own, a policy that intensified through the Middle Ages and later on, with the addition of a prohibition forbidding translation of the Bible into native languages. So basically, they literally banned people from like translating the Bible because they thought their interpretation was the only correct interpretation. They didn't want like anyone else reading it, and it's kind of crazy. But yeah, this actually happened. You want to add something, bro?
No, nothing much. Just that, yeah, it was only quite recently where the first English translation of the Bible was by King James. It's
Mm-hmm.
called the King. Yeah, so that's why we have the King James version of the Bible, because it was King James of England who ordered the translation of the Bible
Mm-hmm.
into English from Latin. And from there, that was when the church started to lose power, to lose control, and
Mm-hmm.
culminated in the Reformation movement. Okay, which is
Mm-hmm.
why we have people like Martin Luther and John Calvin, and the Protestant theologians splitting away from the Catholic Church, because by then the translation of the Bible has been democratized. So a lot of people were aware that most of the things that they heard in church was basically BS, and they could figure out for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
how the church has corrupted the understanding of the Bible. So that is why, and long story short, that was why the Protestants split away from the Catholic Church and formed their own theology. Yeah.
Yeah. Brother Ungo Travel says, I seen your new video. I see the comments filled with atheists. How do you feel about that? Yeah. This happens a lot with my videos. So basically, I'm like trying different methods to have more viewers. So sometimes what happens is that every time I make a video on ex-Muslims, viewers of those ex-Muslim, a particular YouTuber, floods my comment because they're getting a lot of engagement. So in a way, I'm actually kind of successful because I wanted to reach out to them and I got to reach out to them. I couldn't do that before, which is why my channel is getting a lot more engagement, more than usual, which is actually really good. But of course, the comments are flooded with like this kind of like nonsense atheist and ex-Muslims and Christians just insulting me, calling me to Jesus. You'll see what I'm talking about if you go to the comment section. Sometimes I
Yeah, I
respond to
mean,
them, sometimes
I get
delete them.
that. Yeah, I get that all the time. I mean, I get Christians commenting on my video saying Christ is king. Christ is king. I'm not sure what he was a king
King
of,
of what?
because king of what exactly? Because according to their theology, Jesus died and was crucified on the cross. So I'm not sure what was he a king of. Yeah, I mean, kings don't usually get themselves
He's a
crucified.
dead king.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't make
According
any
to them.
sense to me. Yeah, according to their theology, he's not a king. Okay, he can't be a king if he's crucified. Right?
Yeah. All right, let's continue.
So scholars like Ibn Sina or Avicenna, whose canon of medicine became a foundational text in both the Islamic world and Europe, and Ibn al-Haytham al-Hazan, whose work in optics laid the groundwork for the scientific method. In contrast, Christianity's historical relationship with scientific inquiry has been complex, exemplified by the condemnation of Galileo for advocating heliocentrism, a theory now universally accepted. Now for the fourth criterion in the framework.
Yeah, but before we move on to that, so basically, this is a well-known story that Galileo was burned by the church for postulating that the Earth, I think, moves around the sun, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So you can clearly see there is a contradiction when it comes to scientific teachings with the Christian authority. I won't say that Christianity necessarily contradicts science, but it's more like back then at least, the Christian authority contradicted science. I think that would be more accurate to say because back then Christian authority was Christianity, right? And
the church was the sole authority in determining what the masses should believe, and it was the position of the Christian church that the earth was flat. So if anyone were to deny this, therefore it goes against the church. That's basically what they hold. Okay, not necessarily from the Bible itself, but that's what the church authorities believe. Yeah.
You know what's funny is that some of the Protestant might object to this and say that but we don't follow the church. But the thing is that it's not really necessarily about the church, because the thing is that if you're saying that these kind of like highly educated people who are in the positions of bishops and like who are supposedly chosen by God, right? Even if they're not chosen by God, they're very, very intellectual. Like they're very smart people. Like the Catholics were very smart. They're very well educated. So if you're saying that these kind of like highly educated people were all wrong to stopping this kind of like scientific inquiries, then you're basically denying the fact that Christian authorities or intellectuals can even be trusted, right? I mean, like if you look at some of the people that objected to like this kind of like Galileo and like his kind of like his scientific experiments, I mean these were like the highest authority of Christianity at the time. So that objection doesn't hold, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue. So the previous point was about the kind of intellectual tradition of Christianity, which doesn't bode well with like scientific.
Which basically Christianity goes against the intellectual tradition, whereas during the Islamic civilization, intellectualism was celebrated and it was part of society. Therefore, Islam has contributed to society by bringing in knowledge and the encouragement of knowledge. Totally opposed to Christian
because for for us, the way our intellectual tradition work is different than theirs. Because
Yes.
for them, their authority comes from like the church or like it's kind of
Yes.
like body of Christians,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
even for like Protestant, even they have like this kind of like hierarchy where they go to their kind of like church or like their church leaders.
Yeah.
For us,
Yeah.
it's not like that. For us, we have this body of scholars
Yeah.
who usually like sometimes, especially back in the day, they themselves were like scientists and philosophers and
Yes. Yes.
logicians and whatnot, right?
Exactly.
So when
Exactly.
they kind of like commented on like scientific matters, and they said that, well, this has nothing to do like this doesn't contradict our Islamic principles. They used basic reason to show that. Like for the Ibn Taymiyyah, he wrote a whole volume showing how there's no contradiction between logic and faith, right? Akal and the knuckle. There's no contradiction there. So this is
Yes.
the kind of practice that we had from early on, where for Christianity it wasn't very clear cut. Where in the
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
Christianity, especially,
All the scientists that I mentioned in the slides, like Ibn Hazm, Al-Hawarizmi, Ibn Rushd. Ibn Rushd wasn't mentioned, but he's also part of the tradition. Ibn Haytham. All these people were all trained in Islamic sciences. They were all themselves fiqh experts, and they know fiqh very well. So and at the same time, they were also scientists. You see, as opposed to the Christian society, which produced people like Galileo. By the way, Galileo wasn't really a theologian. Okay, he
brother,
he didn't
doctor
have.
says he has to go now. No worries,
Yeah.
bro. We'll see you later, inshallah.
Okay, brother. See you soon, inshallah. Yeah.
Inshallah. Yeah, you were saying, bro?
Yeah. So if you look at Galileo's history, he wasn't a theologian. He wasn't someone who was brought. I mean, he was a practicing Catholic for sure, but he was not a theologian. On a level like Ibn Hazm or even Ibn Sina and Ibn Haytham and Khwarizmi and all these people that we have in the Muslim world. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like he was basically a scientist, but if you like compare his like contribution to someone like Ibn Sina wins by a mile. Even though Ibn Sina is not necessarily, he has problems.
He does have problems. Yeah, but we don't need to highlight that. But the point is that
the point is he kind of grew up in the environment of
he grew. Yes,
Islamic law.
Basically he does have Islamic training, and he does have understanding of Islam. Yeah.
All right, let's continue, inshallah.
Societal ethics. Islam mandates social justice through structured obligations such as zakat, obligatory theft, and wakaf endowments, ensuring wealth redistribution and support for the needy. Christianity, however, emphasizes voluntary charity and often defers ultimate justice to the afterlife, which can result.
By the way, can I use a little bit of critique on your presentation, if it's okay?
Sure.
I think a lot of the points you brought up, like for example, when it comes to Tawheed, the social morality, and this kind of different points, I think they are very complex kind of like points. I feel like you can brush through them without explaining it through like an analogy or like some like a historical example.
Yeah, I was thinking academic
better
approach.
If you could have expanded on these topics much more. But I get where you did that. The time wasn't, maybe you didn't have much enough time.
Yeah, it was only 10 minutes, so I mean there wasn't really much time to explain anything. Yeah, so I had to condense everything. Yeah.
If you like at least dedicated like 2 minutes to explain what you mean, instead of like you don't have to necessarily go through all this. If you just explain some of this core concept, I think that would have been better for the audience. But overall, I think it was a good presentation.
Thank you. Yeah.
A less systematic approach to addressing social inequalities.
Because I think that the issue is that some of Apus audience are just basically brainless. Listen to what you said anyway. But the point is that there's some like modern day debate audience that are actually interested in Islam or that actually want to listen to you. I think
that was my aim, actually, to just present everything as slides on MDD. So it doesn't have to be during the debate. It can be after the debate, and those who may have not watched the debate, they came upon the video by accident. Maybe the algorithm suddenly recommended them to watch the debate, and then it so happens that I was the first presenter. So if let's say they watch this and then they have an open mind, they watch all this, they say, wow, Islam is really quite deep when it comes to civilization, and then they may want to look into these things for themselves, and this might bring them to Islam. So that was my whole plan all along. It wasn't ever about trying to convince AP or trying to target the brainless parts of his audience. It was basically to have my content on MDD. So everything, all this that you see now is all on MDD now. You see? Yeah.
So let's continue, inshallah.
Blueprint for civilization. Islam offers a complete civilizational model, legal, economic, and cultural, rooted in divine guidance. Its prohibition of usury and promotion of ethical finance aim to ensure fairness. Christianity, lacking a unified legal economic framework, frequently defers to secular institutions, which may contradict religious values.
That Christian history legalized usury, is that true?
Yes, that is absolutely true. Yeah.
Wow. Do you have references for that? Like,
no references off the top of my head at the moment. I need to dig in. Yeah, but I've seen it before. Yeah, I have evidence for this. Yeah, but it's not here right now.
I didn't know that. So how did they kind of like legalize usury? I guess
they borrow lending rate.
Usury started from like Church of England, right? That's where it started.
No. It's much earlier. Even during the Catholic. During the Catholic rule of Europe. Okay. So what happened was that when there were money lenders around in Christian Europe, they lend money to others, and then they get back their payment in large interest. So that's usury, right? So if I lend to you, if I lend you $10 US, and I demand $20 payback, that is definitely usury. So that's what's happening. That was what happened during Christian Europe.
Yeah. Okay. I actually found an interesting article, I think. So basically, if you ask like ChatGPT or like Google's AI, it basically says the Christian stance on usury evolved over time. Let me see if I can share it. Start screen.
Let me see. Oh, I think I found a paper on this. Let me see if I can share the paper later. Let me read it first.
Sure. Oh, so this is the one. So basically, it says that the Christian church's stance on usually evolved over time, with early interpretation often condemning charging interest on loans. However, the practice gradually became more accepted, practically as financial innovations and secular laws influenced views. By the 16th century, some theologians and scholars began arguing that interest taking was not inherently unusurious. Usurious if it's reflected the difference in value between present and future sums, not just extortion. So basically, they legalized kind of like. There's an article actually. I found one article. It's an old one from Guardian. The ethical conundrum. When and why did the Christian Church stop viewing usury as a sin? No denomination of the Christian Church has ever condoned usury, which we might define as an extortionate charge for the use of money or fungible goods, but the charging of interest is no longer regarded as usurious in all circumstances. In fact, there is no direct condemnation of interest taking in the New Testament. That's false. That's just straight up false. Right? You're muted, bro. That's
right.
false. That's false.
It is.
That is absolutely false. That is not true. Like there are countless examples in the New Testament and the Old Testament where it says that don't take usury. Right? It's absolutely ridiculous. It is even tolerated in the parable of tenants, the Old Testament authority. Yeah, this is not true. The constitutes a blanket ban on interest taking, but condemns taking interest from the poor within the Jewish community. So this is complete nonsense. So basically, they legalize. You're right. They did legalize. Usually,
they just basically reinterpreted what usury is.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But anyway, let's continue.
Yeah.
Islam exemplifies justice and mercy in action. Islam offers a complete civilizational model, Islamic law, through principles like qisas, equitable retribution, balances justice adl with mercy, deterring crime while allowing for forgiveness. Christian teachings like turn the other cheek promote non-violence, but when taken into isolation, it risks overlooking justice and enabling harm. Looking at contemporary data, empirical data supports Islam's emphasis on moral clarity and social cohesion. In Muslim-majority countries, according to Pew Research here, which I've shared across, such as those in Southeast Asia, large majorities reject social vices like prostitution.
Yeah, and AP totally ignored the whole slides that I did. Oh my God.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
totally
yeah.
ignored the data.
I don't think he even listened to. I don't think he was even listening to
I
you.
don't think. Yeah, I mean,
He
the whole
was
data
trying to
actually goes against
He's trying to
his
ask
points.
ChatGPT on how to beat you. He needed ChatGPT help.
Developing nations have grown increasingly secular, with diminishing religious influence on public ethics and policy. So to conclude, while Christianity offers ideals, Islam delivers real solutions. Islam's integrated approach, rooted in Tawhid, fitrah, and structured social obligations, provides a cohesive framework for societal excellence. Christianity's compartmentalized ideals, while spiritually profound, often rely on secular systems to address societal needs. Historical and contemporary evidence suggests that civilizations flourish under comprehensive, divinely guided frameworks that harmonize spiritual, legal, and social dimensions. So my question to those, to my opponent as well as those in the audience who are watching right now is, can a society thrive without unity, justice, and divine guidance? And as the Quran says, thus we have made you a justly balanced nation so that you may be witnesses over the people. And this is from Surah number 2, verse 143. And this is the Islamic vision for society. And these are the references that I've used.
Basically throw the whole library against him.
Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank you very much for that opening statement. I'm going to kick it out of screen.
All right. So basically,
Yeah.
that was your kind of like presentation.
Yeah, of course. Obviously, I didn't cover all. It was just 10 minutes, and there were only 5 points. I could go on for like an hour just talking about this, but since this is in a debate environment, obviously, I have to condense everything, and there wasn't enough time to explain every single point, so I just condensed everything and packed it for consumption of the audience.
Yeah. So basically, your argument was done like 5 points, right? 5 or 3 points. You're muted, bro. Muted, bro.
Sorry. 5 or 6 points. Yeah, I was saying that.
Yeah. So basically, the first one is about Tawheed, the fact that Islam kind of like embraces unity rather than kind of like division.
Yes,
And
that's
second
right.
one would be ethics, right?
Yeah, ethics. Original sin versus fitrah.
Sin versus sin, the third one would be kind of like intellectual tradition.
Intellectual development in the Muslim world versus that in the Christianity. Yes, that's right. Yeah.
And the fourth one, I think that's the last one, would be, which one was it?
Sorry, I don't remember. let me look at my slides again. Okay. I have my slides here. Give me a moment. I need to.
Sure, bro. I think it has something to do with society, right? Basically, they legalized.
Yeah. The fourth point was about social ethics, which is
social
about
ethics,
which is about laws, implementation of the laws. Whereas Christianity, they talk about ideas, but they don't
actually implement the laws. And that's true, by the way, because the thing is that if you look at Christianity, it's basically got infected by this virus of Greek philosophy rather than kind of like actual theology. So if you like try to talk to this kind of like Christian apologists, they throw philosophy at you rather than actual theology.
Exactly.
And this is extremely frustrating because like you see ideas that has nothing to do with their book, and basically that's how they develop their theology. But for us, like our basis is the book, right? Our basis is the scripture. So like this is why like they're kind of like if you see their kind of like social and moral framework, it's completely messy. But for Islam, it's completely coherent.
Yes.
Yeah. So I guess that was the end of your presentation. Now let's take a look at Apus's presentation, which he has none, but let's see what he said.
Share mode and welcome our other debate opponent today.
Easy to establish. I do want to share my
get out of screen share mode and welcome our other debate opponent today, Apostate Prophet. Thanks so much for being with us, Apostate Prophet. The floor is.
Thank you to MENJ, and thanks to James for arranging this. I know this is an important debate in preparation of another debate that we will be having soon. And I want to briefly talk about how Christianity is better for society than Islam. It's not a very difficult topic. It's actually very easy to establish. I do want to share my screen very briefly here. Let's do this. Let me share my screen. Let me share my screen right here. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
share
my
screen.
Right here. Let's see.
Share screen.
Yeah, go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, so on my screen you can see. Please write it. Oh, sorry, the wrong screen.
Okay.
Oh my god!
Oh
All
my-
right. So
okay.
in case you guys don't know what this is, so when I was first watching the debate, when I saw this, I laughed so hard. Like, this is ridiculous. Okay, so let's read it. All right. So basically, he accidentally puts this screenshot where he had a conversation with ChatGPT, and he says, "Please write a script for me to debate a Muslim and prove that Christianity is better for society. Please, I want to win." Then ChatGPT actually responds, and he says, "Here's a debate script designed to give you a strong fact-based rhetorical edge in arguing that Christianity, especially in its historical and cultural influence, has been more beneficial to society than Islam. It combines moral, historical, philosophical, and empirical arguments, adopt the tone-based on the format, academic paper, publisher, etc." So, like, this is embarrassing. Like, this this is embarrassing. Like, he really needs like the help of ChatGPT to like debate you.
Well. To be fair, I did use some ChatGPT in helping in help getting my points across. So it's not really. I mean, it's not really something which is uncommon nowadays.
No,
I
but
mean,
like, but okay, like, there's a difference between like using ChatGPT for like some information here and there, versus literally asking ChatGPT to write the whole script. Like that's just like, that's ridiculous. This is
Yeah.
hilarious. Like, this is so stupid. Like, he can't come up with like his own arguments. And if you guys want to see more evidence that Apus, Apostate Prophet, is a talentless hack, like, there's no better evidence than this. This is ridiculous. This is embarrassing. Like, why would you follow this guy? Why would you take this guy seriously? Like, this is a joke. This guy's a joke. And the thing is that if he cannot debate you, then why did he even agree to debate you? Especially on Christianity, because like you've been like doing
Beats me.
polemics against Christianity for like 30 years,
Yeah.
20 years,
Yeah.
right?
20
So
years
obviously,
plus. Yeah.
like, you have the edge. So if he's not confident, then why debate you, right? This is embarrassing.
Yeah, but then again, I need to mention that I don't get involved in these debates to win a debate. Okay, my goal is different from Apus. So he clearly wants to. I mean, if you look at the prompt, he says that he wants to win so badly. But when I go into debates, I keep an open mind. I mean, I have my position obviously, and I know that what I was going to say, but I don't come in with the intention to win or to beat the opponent. I just come in with the intention to present the position that I have and to let the audience or those who will be watching the video, like the slides that I presented, to think for themselves, to guide them into thinking for themselves, not to win a debate. Because even if I win the debate, even if I had won the debate, let's say, it doesn't mean that I've won the hearts and minds of people who are watching. See, so to me that defeats the purpose of a debate. Because the purpose of a debate is to present your points, to have the best argument that you can possibly give. Okay, and hopefully someone in the audience or someone who's watching may consider the points for themselves.
Exactly.
It's not
Because
about
the thing
winning.
is that debates like don't kind of like achieve that kind of thing where like the debater all of a sudden is gonna say, "Oh, well, I accept Islam." Like, that's highly unlikely.
Of course, obviously that's highly unlikely.
Like, people like
Obviously,
Apus.
exactly. Obviously, even if you are a better debater, that doesn't mean that the other side will say, "Oh, I give up. I'm going to embrace Islam now." They're not going to do that. They're definitely not going to do that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is the embarrassing display of Apus. But anyway, let's continue.
Please write a script. Wrong screen right here. Sorry, wrong screen. All right. Anyway, let me not share my screen here. Let me just argue from
Like, look at James's
I'm sorry, MENJ. I had to
face.
I'm sorry about that. I don't want to be rude. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. So I want to argue today that Christianity is better for society than Islam. We can look at the world around us and realize that Islamic societies are quite bad, quite backward, quite lowly, quite
Oh my
difficult,
God.
and very, very.
This is his whole argument, right?
Yeah.
This is his whole argument.
Basically, after I spoke for about 5 minutes saying that you can't judge Islam based on the secularism that's prevalent in society today, he goes back and repeats the same thing that I said, right?
Yeah. I mean, like, subhanallah, man. Like, subhanallah. like, so basically his whole argument is that, oh, look at modern Muslim societies.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
clearly they're not as advanced as like some of the kind of like
Yeah.
secular
He
societies.
totally didn't. He totally didn't
Yeah.
even address anything I said. Did he even listen to anything I said in the slides?
Yeah, it's not just that. The thing is that let's deal with this argument, right?
Yeah.
Because I think you predicted that he would say this, right?
Yeah, I did. It was
Like,
mentioned in the slides. Yeah, it was mentioned in
yeah,
the slides
I
too.
noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
the thing is that, like, that's not true. Like, if you look at some of the African countries, some of the Christian
Yeah.
African countries, they're some of the
Yeah.
poorest in the region,
Exactly. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
If you
yeah.
look at the Latin American Christian countries,
Yeah.
they're some of the poorest.
Yeah,
in the
like
region.
Argentina, Brazil,
Even
Venezuela. Yeah, these are
even
all
even
Catholic
European,
Protestant
even
countries.
European European countries.
Yeah, Romania, Lithuania, all these
If you
countries,
don't
all
look
these
at the
Eastern
common,
Europe countries. Yeah,
Eastern European countries, and don't look at the kind of like the
Western
some
Christian.
powerhouse in
Yes,
terms of
of course.
European
Of
powers.
course. Yes,
Uh,
yes.
They're very poor. Like, they're
Yeah,
not
they
like,
are.
you know,
They
they're
are.
not as rich like Saudi Arabia or anything like that. They're very
Exactly.
poor.
Yeah.
And so this idea, also like some regions in Russia as well, very poor. So like
Yeah.
this whole idea that, oh, the Christian nations are doing better than Muslims, it's not true. It's just
Yes,
definitely not true.
Yeah, which I mentioned in my slides, but this guy just didn't
Yeah.
listen. You see?
So this idea that, oh, Muslim societies are doing worse than Christian societies, that proves that, Christianity is better than Islam, has nothing to do with anything. It's completely false. So first of all, that's completely false. But even if I were to accept this idea that, okay, you know what, Christian societies are doing better, that's a correlation miscausation fallacy, right? Yes, there's a correlation between people being Muslim, and in some areas people being Muslim and people being poor, but that doesn't mean that Islam is the thing that led them to being poor, right?
Yeah.
Or Christianity is the thing
Yeah.
that led them to be more prosperous.
Yeah, it's okay. And how would he be able to explain countries like Saudi or UAE or Qatar, which are rich countries, or
Yeah.
or Brunei, or even to
Yeah.
a certain extent maybe Malaysia and Indonesia, which are quite developing very fast right now. Okay.
Yeah, but that's not even the argument I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
I'm saying that,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
even if I accepted his argument, right, which is
Yeah,
that Muslim
yeah.
countries are poor and
Yeah.
like Christian countries are rich, but
Yeah.
how does that prove that Islam is the thing that led to that?
Is the cost? Yeah.
Christianity is the
Exactly.
thing that-
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Correlation
not.
with causation. Like, you
Yeah,
need to establish
yeah.
causation. He didn't establish
Yes.
causation.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
just assuming that because there's a correlation, that means causation. That's a fallacy.
He assumes that just because there are some poor
Because
Muslim
the thing is
countries,
that
therefore Islam is at fault.
if that's the case, there are many kind of like for example, if you look at the Hindus in India, many of them are
Yeah.
poor. That doesn't mean that Hinduism is the thing that led to them being poor. Of course not. It doesn't establish that. Or what about like what if I looked at like
Yeah.
Antarctica?
Yeah, like
Right.
like
Like
Buddhist
like-
countries, for example. There are many poor Buddhist countries. Does that mean that Buddhism is the cause of them being poor?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
see?
Exactly. Or
Yeah,
or
yeah.
or let's look at like murder rate, right? Like, for example, if you look at UK, there are more murders in UK than there are in like some of the Gulf countries. Does
Yeah.
it mean that is the Christianity that's leading to more murders? Of course not. So this is a ridiculous argument.
Yeah.
It can be proven false so many different ways.
Yes.
So even if I were to accept his like proposition, which is that, oh, because Muslim countries are poor, that proves that somehow Islam led to that, it's completely false. Also, if you go back in history, some of the Muslim countries were some of the most richest and most powerful. I mean, you don't have to go back that
Yes.
far. Just look at the Ottoman Empire during its prime,
Yeah.
during its peak.
Yeah.
Like, it was
Yes.
it was a powerhouse. Like, it was a superpower. Like, no one dared mess with the Ottomans. When
Yeah,
the
in the
Ottomans were-
in the 1400s we had the Malacca Empire. I don't know whether you heard of it. It's in Malacca today in the peninsula, and it was the richest empire in this region in Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
it conquered parts of Thailand, what we now know as Thailand today, and some parts of Indonesia. And traders from all over the world, especially from Arabia and from China and from India, they came
Yeah.
to Malacca to trade. And even the Europeans wanted to come here to trade, which is why they sent a delegation to try
Yeah.
to conquer Malacca in the 1500s.
Yeah, and
you see?
not
So-
just that. Like, if you look at India or the subcontinent, for example, under Muslim
Yeah.
rule, like for example, under the rule of Aurangzeb, the British could not take over India. Like,
Yeah.
that's one of the interesting things. Like, I don't know if you know, when India was under Muslim rule, like proper Muslim empire, British couldn't take it.
Yeah.
So when the Muslim empire slowly starts to lose this power, all of a
Yeah.
sudden British comes and take over, right?
Yes,
And
that's
the,
right.
and the Hindu kings literally gives it to them
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
platter, right?
Yes, yes,
So
yeah.
this kind of shows that, like, why Muslim empires were so strong and so empowered. So this idea that Islam immediately leads to like poor development in society is completely false. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, under the Mughal rule, India was the richest country or richest region in the whole of Asia in terms of business and commerce.
Yes, yes,
But
yes.
right after the Muslim empire falls, it becomes the poorest.
Yeah,
right.
that's okay. Yeah.
So like, I don't think he this needs to be established more than that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, this is complete bullshit. Let's continue.
Okay.
Bad when it comes to a track record in human rights. You look at
Human
the
rights.
world, you look at the Muslim world. When it comes to human rights, you will find that living standards are generally extremely low.
Yeah, he's talking about the situation today. He didn't talk about the situation
human right.
before.
What human right is there
human
in
rights.
Christianity?
Yeah.
In the Bible,
I
I think in Deuteronomy, it says that if your brother worship other gods, you should kill him.
I mentioned that during the debate. In fact, I did mention that.
Yeah.
Deuteronomy 13.
Human rights.
Yeah, human rights. Yeah, sure.
Or what about the massacre of like the Amalekites?
Amaleks.
They needed a lots of human rights, I guess.
Yeah,
so their humans needed to be slaughtered. Brother Tarun is here. Tarun Tech. Salam alaikum, bro. Hello.
Oh, okay. Salam alaikum, bro.
You will find that the happiest countries in the world with most life satisfaction will not include Muslim countries. They're usually Western countries or Christian countries or post-Christian countries.
Again, like correlation means causation. Like, I mean, like, how do you you need to establish that them being Christian is what led to that. Because if you look at the countries he's talking about, these are all secular countries.
Yes.
Like Sweden and all these kind of like other kind of countries.
And I pointed out during the debate. Yeah, I did point that out.
These are secular countries. So how is Christianity leading to kind of like happiness? It's ridiculous. Also, what about the African Christian countries? Why are they not happy then? Right? Ridiculous.
Yeah.
You will find that high social status, high social development, high health, individual freedoms, individual liberty, and so on is high.
Yeah. Source, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro.
Trust me, yeah. Source, trust me, bro. And these are all secular countries anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
In non-Muslim nations and Christian and post-Christian nations. The happiest nations in the world, the nations with the highest human development on the Human Development Index, and quality of life will be countries that are in Scandinavia, that are in Western Europe, that have a Christian background, that are currently Christian.
Oh, it's Christian background, guys. It's not Christianity, it's Christian background.
Christian
then what does that
background,
have to do with Christianity? Like anyone with a Christian or Muslim background can do well.
Yeah.
Like the Gulf countries are doing well, but that doesn't mean like
exactly.
it's necessarily because of that led to their wealth, right?
Yes.
Now, you can make this argument. Like, look at China, right? They're doing so well, right? Is it because like they're Chinese? Are the Chinese somehow a superior race? Of course not. So this is the kind of like ridiculous argument you can make if you just simply grant this kind of like correlation with causation fallacy.
Yes.
But just because there's a correlation between someone being Chinese and China necessarily being like a rich nation doesn't mean being Chinese is what led to that, right?
Yeah.
And like any kind of social development is very complex topic when it comes to whether it's Muslim nations or like non-Muslim nations. So instead of looking at that, simply saying, them simply being Chinese is what led to that. It's just completely fallacious. It's a fallacious argument.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
countries or post-Christian societies, meaning that Christianity established the society. Right now, it is very much built on secular ideas, but at the core, still very Christian, because Christianity is what influences and what creates modern liberal democracy.
Yeah, gay marriage is very Christian, bro. Most of these countries accept gay marriage. Were you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Did you hear what I said?
Sorry, you were saying? Yeah.
So basically, he's saying that most of these countries have like Christian background, but countries like allow gay marriage, allow LGBTQ.
Exactly.
Which part of that is Christian?
Yeah, it must be very Christian to allow gay marriage. Yeah. Maybe it's part of Christianity. Who knows? Some secret teaching. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
societies and so on. So this is basically where you get the idea from that Christianity, in comparison to Islam, creates proper societies. With Islam, it's quite obvious what we have. You mentioned, for example, my opponent MENJ, for example, mentions that, or the Muslim apologist mentions that. That Islam is proven to have social cohesion. When we talk about social cohesion, what we're talking about here is very important.
Out of the 5 points that I mentioned, he only mentioned one. Out of the 5 slides that I've discussed, he only mentioned one slide.
And not even properly. I think he just talking about one thing that I think he picked up. His brain kind of like deleted everything else.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
One brain cell deleted everything else.
Yeah.
That's good.
See what is meant here. By social cohesion, it is meant that it keeps through a set of laws a society together, entrenched to each other, without allowing them the possibility to go into different directions. So Islam is a very collectivist system, which
that's not what I said.
Everyone has to work for the collective. It is basically like
that's not what I said. That's not what I said.
Comment.
Yeah.
So what was the point that you made?
My point was that Islam created a society where there were moral cohesion, there were societal laws where Muslims follow and obey. It doesn't say anything about forcing everyone to follow those laws. It was because Islam was the one which initiated those laws, to make the society more firm, more cohesive. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the laws being forced upon people to follow in order to be cohesive. It's just because they were Muslims, and of course, as Muslims, of course, we follow the Islamic law, okay, by default. Yeah, if you're not a Muslim, obviously you will not be following the law, okay. So he's saying, but this guy is saying that because Islam creates such laws, it forces it upon the people. That is why there's social, which is not exactly the point that I was trying to make.
Yeah. So basically the point that I think you're making, right, which is that Islam basically creates, because of Tawheed and things like Tawheed, Muslim society have something to kind of like be united upon, right?
Yes, that's right. One of them,
cohesion, strong cohesion among society.
Yes.
But Christianity doesn't have that.
Yeah, they don't have that.
So the thing is that even if you don't kind of like force these laws, people would force it on themselves.
Exactly.
Because it's coming from bottom up rather than top to bottom.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
And this idiot extravagant said, and he says that it's coming from top to bottom, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that we know this because like the Arab society used to be a tribalistic society, right? They had like no reason to kind of like accept this kind of religion, unless they chose it willingly.
Yes.
To kind of like let go of their tribalism and unite.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the biggest example. Like, look at what happened during the time of the Prophet. Like this entirely completely different tribes of different philosophies and different ideologies all came together because of this one cohesive.
Yeah, before the time of the Prophet, the Arab tribes in around the Hijaz area, they did not have any kings. The reason was because they were fighting among themselves, deciding who was supposed to be king, and all of them feel that they deserve to be king. So in the end, they just decided not to have any king. And they formed this council called Darul. I forgot the name of the council. They had a council of various tribes. There's 12 tribes, so they convene. Each of them will each, I think it's weekly or monthly. I'm not sure, but they had this the delegation from each tribe convening in Mecca, and they always appoint someone among themselves to just lead, to become the chairman. So basically, because the Quraysh were the ones who were the guardians of the Kaaba, so usually the Quraysh, a member of the Quraysh would be the chairman, so to speak, but he wasn't the king. He was not the king of the tribes, you see. So that was how the Arab tribes during the time of the Prophet governed themselves. This was before Islam became.
Another thing is that, like, if you read some of the history of like some of the caliphate and how it came about after the Prophet ﷺ died, basically it was a very kind of like people-based system. It wasn't like, oh, we're gonna decide what's gonna happen. Like first, companions got together, all the tribal leaders got together, and they decided that okay, we need a leader, we need a caliphate, we need a khilafah. They all like agreed to it. They all agreed. Abu Bakr.
Shura. That's why they had a shura. Right?
People gave their allegiances to him, right? So there's a whole kind of like system where the people decided. It wasn't like Abu Bakr decided I'm gonna be the khilafah, and they imposed it on people. As a matter of fact, he didn't want to be khilafah.
Yeah, he wanted.
He
I
hated
think
it.
he wanted. Yeah,
Give it
he
to,
wanted. I think he
Omar.
was suggest. He suggested someone else. In fact.
Yeah. He wanted Omar Radhiyallahu and all these other
Yeah.
people to kind of like this idiot is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
We delete that comment. Anyway, so
Some,
he
some
actually
idiot,
wanted
yeah.
someone else to take his position.
Yes.
But the thing is that because he was such a humble person, they chose him. They forced him to be kind of like the Khilafah.
Yes. The Khilafah.
Because he
Caliph,
was
yeah.
the perfect person for it.
Yes.
So this
yes.
is how like it's like Islamic societies develop and the laws develop. It's not like where it's one person decides I'm gonna be king and they force it on people. That's
Yeah, exactly.
how it
That was what happened to Christianity, by the way. So when
Yeah.
Constantine became the king, when it was decided that when Constantine decided that Christianity was the religion of the empire, he pretty much said, okay, Christianity is the religion of the empire. I'm going to force everyone to become Christian. All other religions are no longer allowed in the empire. So that was how
yeah.
Christianity was elevated to a more prominent role during the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
We don't
Alright,
have that in Islam.
let's
See,
continue.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Let's continue.
It has very much in common with socialism and with communism, with the USSR, just that it goes into a different direction. With the Soviet Union, the emphasis was to establish a state atheism and to establish a labor-based religion where everyone has to work or else, and nobody can conspire against the government. With Islam, you have a similar.
This guy's such an idiot. Like the Soviet Union was not a religious country. Like what is he talking about? What's he talking about?
He's trying to equate Islam with socialism, with Marxism.
It's so
nuts,
stupid.
Yeah.
Like Soviet Union or the USSR is anything but religious. Like
Exactly.
what are you talking about?
Exactly. They banned the churches and they disallowed religion from the administration. It was only much later when the USSR fell that Christianity finally got a foothold, return to
the thing is that okay, so maybe they could argue that basically what we're saying is that it was like a religion, right? It was like a cult or cultish religion, right? But the thing is that like that you're trying to argue that Christianity led to good things in society, right?
Yeah.
So how is that relevant that you're bringing up examples of like this kind of like cult-like social movement? Like how is that relevant? It's a red herring. Like that's not, the two things are not the same. Like he's saying that you're trying to compare apples to oranges. Like how is like this kind of like system where basically argues that workers should have equal rights as their owners. How is that the same as like believing that there's only one God?
Yeah.
Like it's just ridiculous. This guy's so stupid.
Similar system where there is a collective purpose. Everyone has to serve the state. Everyone has to serve the Islamic government. Everyone has to serve the Islamic forces, the Islamic powers that be. Those who go their own way are usually punished or forced out, and so on. People who apostatize, people who leave Islam, are punished with death. This is the law in Islam.
Yeah, this is a straw man, because the thing is that as I mentioned, the way Islamic society functions is bottom to top rather than top to bottom. And then this is something Daniel mentions as well, which is that the reason Islamic societies work is because the moral codes actually come from the people. They're the ones who enforce it. Then they're the ones who kind of like reach it, bring it to the top.
Bring it to the top. Impose it upon the administration to implement it, not the other way around. You see? Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the traditional law in Islam. People who leave Islam are punished by death. This means that you have to be loyal to the state. You have to be loyal to the political system.
Also, like he's saying that Islam punishes people. Like, what does Christianity do? Like, have you ever heard of apostasy law in Christianity?
I cited Deuteronomy 13, and he couldn't answer.
I mean, like, has he heard of the blasphemy law in Christianity? Like, I mean, he
that's
loves
about
ChatGPT. He can just ask ChatGPT, is there blasphemy law in Christianity? Like even like Jesus, like when people wanted to like stone that kind of like adulteress, right? You know that story of like,
the story,
he says that whoever is not these sinless, throw the first stone.
Cast the first stone.
Without sin, cast the first stone.
Yes.
Right? But he didn't say you shouldn't cast the first stone. He said that whoever is sinless should cast the first stone.
Exactly.
Right? Basically, his point is that people who are qualified or who are like good people should be the one who to enforce the law.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? His point is not like don't enforce the law.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
like even he acknowledges that stoning to death is a valid punishment. He never said it's not like abrogated. So even in the New Testament you can find this. And this guy is saying
Yes.
that human rights, social
Human
activism.
rights. We must have gays. We must have gays in our society because it's human rights.
Yeah.
System at hand, you have to be loyal to the Islamic state and Islamic governance and Islamic laws.
Even
If
James
you
had
leave
left
it,
the
you are
scene.
basically
See?
seen as a traitor, as somebody who has turned his back, not just on his own personal relationship with God, but on his government, on the powers that are. And that this person should be punished. This is done in order to preserve the social cohesion. So the social cohesion is not preserved by
What is he even saying? I don't think he knows
system
what he's saying.
that teaches people how to live together. The social cohesion is preserved by forcing people to abide by what you have. We have tried this in the past. Islamic societies have tried this in the past. This is why the Islamic
He's such
Caliphate,
intellectual, bro.
as it was,
Islamic
Islam in the past,
society
instead
is-
of Western nations, which were
He's
Western
preaching,
nations-
he's not making a point. He's just
Islamic
preaching.
society was bound under an Islamic empire.
He's
an Islamic
totally
caliphate.
not. He's
Islamic
totally
empire is
not.
bad.
Early historian,
He's
very, very
totally
important, that, what makes
He's
Islam
not
different
making
from
any
Judaism
points. He's just
and Judaism
preaching.
have a universal mission.
Islam
Whereas,
bad.
Islam
Christianity
universal mission,
good.
where
Yeah.
the head of the state and the head of the army are
Good
one
Christians.
and,
Bad
everyone
Islam.
has to obey
Bad
the head of the
Islam.
state,
Bad
and the head of the
Muslim.
state has to
Islam
direct
bad.
religion to the
Islam
Arab
bad.
will
Arab
or
people
Islam
bad.
bad.
This is what it is. In
Arab
Islam, you get
bad.
privilege. You get
Yeah.
mistreatment of
Israel.
women. You treat a half of society, which are women.
His arguments are
they-
horrible, man.
Imagine a body with two legs.
Yeah.
You basically shoot one of those legs and you make it then walk like that. Islam is like that. Islam women don't contribute anything to society. It's not seen as part of the functioning society. It's all to men.
He's
And,
just
the
repeating
men
his points again.
and states.
By the way, let me respond to this.
He's just repeating the same thing again. Oh my god! I think I caused him to go into a breakdown without realizing it.
Oh my God. Like, so
You see, the thing is, did he deal with anything I said earlier in the slides?
Nope,
Did he even?
nope.
Yeah, that's right.
He's basically talking about like the things, the moral issues he has with like Islam, but that's not the topic. The
Yeah.
topic is that does
That's not the topic,
Islamic law, like Islam as a religion,
Yeah,
lead to
Yes.
kind of like, good society or a bad society, right?
I think I forced him into a nervous breakdown for some reason.
And here he's talking about, I don't like this Islamic law.
I don't like apostasy. Apostasy bad. Christianity allows apostasy. Christianity good. That's it. That's his argument.
And then he's like talking about like, women cannot do anything and whatnot.
Women cannot. Oh, women must cover. Oh, Islam bad. Christianity allows you to uncover. Christianity good.
By the way,
sure.
can I let me just respond to what he said, which is that
Yeah.
he says that women don't like contribute to society. Like women is the most important part of Islamic society. They're like the most important part. They're not
Yeah, they are.
like some
Yeah.
side thing. They're like the
Yes.
most important part. Remember the
Exactly.
hadith of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. What did he say? He said that who is the most important? Like someone asked him
Yeah.
in terms of between the mother and the
Yeah.
father.
Yeah.
And Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said it's
Yeah.
the mother. He was asked again,
Yeah.
who's the mother?
Three times.
That's
Three
the
times.
mother. Why did he say that? He said that because the mother is the one who teaches the kids. That's what leads to a functioning society. It's
Yes.
not the father. Because sure, I mean, like your father can teach things, but it's the mother that
Yeah,
actually
we
shapes
don't
the
have
society.
time to raise our children. Honestly, as a father myself, I know that
Yeah,
that it's not easy for me to
yeah.
educate
It's
my son.
the mother that's
Most of the
shaping
education is
society.
done by my wife. Yes, my wife does the education for my son. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, it's
the natural order of things. Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
the mother that is shaping the Islamic society. So they're the
Yes.
most important part, right? They're
Yes,
the most
exactly.
important part, even more important than the caliph. Some could argue,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
The
Yeah.
mothers, especially.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is so saying that in Islamic society women don't contribute to anything. It's the most stupid thing I've ever heard. It's either that you
It's
don't
really
understand
dumb.
how Islamic societies actually function,
Or
you
he just
refuse
watched
to
too
use
much.
your brain.
He's just watching too much propaganda from Christians.
Yeah.
Islam bad. Or Islam allows women. Women are oppressed in Islam. Women must work at home and they are not allowed to work. They're not allowed to have freedom. So Islam bad. Christianity good.
The thing is that with this kind of like
Yeah.
left-wing garbage arguments,
Yeah. He just like I said, he was just preaching and he didn't deal with anything I said in the slides. Nothing.
Yeah.
Zero.
yeah. And the thing, so basically the point is that woman is the shepherd of like the household. Like when the
Yes.
husband is not there, she's the one who's
Like I always like to say the man is the leader of the house and the woman is the minister of the household. She's the home minister and the man is the prime minister. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's 50,
home
you want
minister,
to-
and even more than that, she's the one who shepherds the children. And
Yeah,
for the most part.
yeah. education minister also. Yeah.
So basically,
Okay.
she's the one
Yeah.
who's shaping the society.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
saying that,
Exactly.
woman plays no role is
No,
damn
it's,
stupid.
yeah.
Like
It's
cruelty
just
toward each
dumb.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It's just
continuation.
dumb. Yeah.
They
He's
are not
just
encouraged to each other.
he's
They are
just
told
repeating lies. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing
Yeah.
more.
that they must obey these laws to get treats from Allah, and disobey and not obey these things, not do these things, otherwise he will be punished by Allah. In Christianity, you don't have that. Muslim apologist
Oh,
says
Christianity
that
don't have any
doesn't-
punishment from God. Did you hear what he said? There's no punishment from God for anything.
I mean, like when
What
God
the hell is
kills,
saying? Yeah.
kills his own son, I guess that's not punishment, but
That's
or
not
like
punishment, huh?
punishes
Okay.
Amalekites, all these kind of like genocides
Oh my
that he
God.
commits.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I just when I listen to it again, I realize he doesn't really have any argument. My God. Okay, it's really that dumb. Okay.
Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Like Christianity is full of punishments. Like you get punished if your wife, like I don't know, like even grabs some, tries to save you.
So
grabs
someone's
someone's
thingy.
you have to cut off her arm, her
Yeah, you
hand.
have to cut off, you have to cut off a hand. Yeah, exactly.
If your son is like disobedient, you have to stone him to death. Like you have nonsense like this, and he's saying that there's no punishment from God. Really?
This guy obviously doesn't know the the Old Testament.
Let's read some of the
Okay,
Old Testament laws,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
what Moses said to his like followers. Take the
Oh
young
my
girls
God.
for themselves. Like that's
Really,
punishment.
really, truly
That's
dumb.
humiliation for those people.
Really, honestly,
Kill
truly
their
dumb.
donkeys.
Yeah.
For the Amalekites, like they're wiped out.
Yeah.
The
So
children
I think I don't know why he chose Christianity, because I think he believes that Christianity is this religion where you can just go in, just embrace secularism and go about your life without any laws, and just believe and be saved. Okay. Basically believe in Jesus and be saved, and you're not accountable for anything that you do, and you just continue your basically godless life, okay, as it is, but you just need to believe in Jesus. That's it. Yeah, you don't have to do anything else. You don't even have to pray or anything. You just believe in Jesus, you'll be saved. That's it.
You know what I think?
Yeah.
Honestly, I think that Apus, I
Yeah.
think what it is that his wife is, I think, Christian, right? Or
Yeah.
became Christian.
Yes.
Because
It's why we became
I
Christian.
think
Yeah.
because of cultural reason, not necessarily because of theological reasons, right?
Yes.
They want to fit into society, this kind of like non-Muslim society. He want to fit in.
Yeah.
So his wife is Christian, so he might as well become one, right? So he can go to churches and do all these things, and people will treat him nicely, right?
Yeah.
But of course, like when it comes to like Islam, he can bash Islam and make money. That's the reason he does it. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So he can continue to do that, and he will get even more support, even more money from the Christian side now.
Exactly.
Right?
All the Christians say, "Oh, look, Apus is now one of us. Let's give him more money in order to bash Islam." Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think that's basically what's going on. He is clearly not sincere about Christianity. Like if you're a Christian, and if you think that this guy is
that's why I said to you at the earlier part of the stream, I said that when during the debate, the whole of this all of his rambling just now, when you can see that, you can see my face right now on the on the right of the screen. I was actually thinking to myself that this guy is really not a Christian. He's just an atheist right now, pretending to be a Christian, because I don't think that at the time even that he was actually embracing, or he actually understood what he was getting himself into when he declared himself to be a Christian. Because no Christian would actually say the things that he said.
Let's continue, inshallah. By the way, guys, if you have any questions in regards to this, you can ask us. Let's continue.
By the way, how many views do we have right now?
Right now we don't have many views. We have zero viewers right now.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
Very, very important.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll come back. Hopefully.
Yeah.
A very important thing in Christianity is the Sermon on the Mount.
By the way, if you guys want to engage in this conversation or ask us any question, you can, because I know that sometimes I'm not very often active or live. So if you guys have any question in regards to Islam or Christianity or anything in regards to this topic, you can ask us.
Yeah.
Let's continue, inshallah.
Jesus teaching people how to be and how to attain salvation by being a proper person, by being a proper human who cares for the others, who gives in charity, who lifts up people, and so on. Which is why in America, for example, and in Western nations in general, those who give charity most statistically are Christians, and then Jews.
That's not true. Like, there are many researchers that shows that Muslims in UK are the most charitable people. I mean, they give the most amount of charity in UK. So that's especially during month of Ramadan. So that's just false. And also, like, there's a research, and I have a video on it on my channel, but basically it showed that
he hasn't shown. You see, all the things that he said about Christians, he didn't even show any evidence. Whereas actually, I have shown my reference and my slides in my slides. You see? So zero references for him.
And so basically, I made a video on the 10 most charitable countries during pandemic, and Indonesia was number one. And one of the reasons why the research paper said that Indonesia was number one is because some of the Islamic preachers, they were basically encouraging people to give charity. So here you can literally see the correlation and causation effect, where the Muslim preachers were actually, a kind of like correlating factor for Muslims to give charity. The religion is a correlating factor for Muslims to give charity. Right? So Islam is the reason why people give charity. So this idea that Christians are the most charitable, like
where is he getting the information from? Where is he getting his information from? There's also another thing.
Exactly.
Muslims not so much. You can't really find them very much among people who frequently in high shares give charities.
You
so
can see
maybe forcing people to give
the
charities,
reaction on my face when I heard that.
Because obviously, if you simply tell people to give charity,
I mean, like, he's saying that Muslims are forced to give charity. Really, who's forcing people in Indonesia to give charity?
Who's I mean, I think this guy is confused between zakat and sadaqah. Okay, he doesn't know. He doesn't seem to know. He doesn't seem to know the difference between the two. I mean, what he's talking about is probably the zakat, but it's not sadaqah. Okay, sadaqah is something different. Okay, it's not for it's charity. Okay, zakat is it's obligatory. But it's not. But it's not.
Also, like, even though zakat is obligatory, most of these countries, countries like Indonesia, they don't have Islamic law. Like the government is not gonna force this kind of like law on you.
There's no particular
or wage
law
war
for
on
that,
you. Like, during the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he literally waged war.
He literally waged war against a tribe which said that the zakat was not obligatory. Yes.
But that's not gonna happen in modern times.
No,
there's no rules like that. Like, you don't have to give zakat, but people still do give zakat.
And in Malaysia especially, every year we have like billions in zakat money coming from Muslims every year. Who's forcing? So the question would be, who's forcing the Muslims in Malaysia to pay zakat? There's no law saying that Muslims must pay zakat, by the way, in Malaysia.
Also, speaking of which, even when Abu Bakr kind of like waged war against this tribe, he only did it because people were behind him. Like, it's not like he decided, I'm going to force people. No, people supported him, and people pressured on him. That's why he did it. He knew that this is what the people wanted.
Also another reason why Abu Bakr did that was because those people who said we do not want to pay zakat, that is equivalent to saying that we are denying the khilafah, we are denying your rule, we are denying your authority over us. So to pay zakat is actually at the time was considered to be as a form of bai'ah to acknowledge the khilafah, to acknowledge the government. So when you don't pay zakat, it is equivalent to rebelling against the authorities. So that is why Abu Bakr did what he did.
And not just that, I think it's tantamount to kind of leaving Islam, because you're basically denying
that as well.
The Quran, right?
Yes.
The Quran and Islam and Islamic law.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's also another reason why that happened. Yeah.
Exactly. Let's continue.
Charity and to be good, they seem to do much better than if you force them to give charities. So if you force them to give charities, you don't teach them to be good people. You simply teach them to be obedient and to put their hands in their pockets and give money to others even if they don't want to. This is what Islam teaches. Islam treats people like
no one is forcing anyone in UK to give charity.
Nobody forces any Muslim to pay zakat or sadaqah. Okay, so and yet Muslim countries are giving a lot of sadaqah and giving a lot of zakat. Okay.
Like lesser beings that have to be disciplined in order to be good, whereas Christianity treats people like humans that can learn what it means to be a good person, which is why Christianity creates better societies, as we have seen today in the world, and Islam creates failure, which is why Muslims go to the Western world. That's it.
Wait, so his argument is that Islam creates failures because Muslims go to Western countries?
Yeah, I kind of bashed him on that when it came to the debate session, to the open
seriously,
fire
did
crossfire
he
question.
actually just say that?
Yeah, he did
I
many
need to.
times actually throughout the debate. Yeah, he says that because
Like,
Muslims are all moving to the west, therefore Islam has failed, and therefore Christianity is much more superior. Really dumb.
like,
Yeah.
this guy's dumb. Like, oh my god.
OMG.
Like,
I like that. And that's good. Yeah.
like, 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 how can you even argue that? Like he's saying that, oh, because this one group of people chooses to stay in this another continent,
Yeah.
that means that, like, this group of people, the belief that they have is
Yeah.
is a failure. Like, but the thing is that most of Americans move to America. Like, they're not native to the land.
Yeah, exactly. And even today, we talk about contemporary times. You find that a lot of Americans actually move to the Middle East. They move to
Yeah.
Turkey. They move to even to Malaysia, to Indonesia. So what does that mean? Does that mean that America is crumbling? Is a failure state now? Because a lot of Americans are moving to even to Kuala Lumpur. You see,
Yeah, I mean, like,
you
a lot
just
of some Americans are moving to China.
yeah, some Americans are moving. So does that mean that China is better than America now? So America is crumbling because China is so superior. So communism, the CCP, the Chinese
Yeah.
Communist Party, therefore it means that their religion, their atheism is much more superior than
Also,
so-called Christian
this
America.
idiot himself moved to America from Turkey.
From
So
Germany, actually. I
you're
think.
inferior now, I guess.
No,
Apus.
so it means that Germany perhaps is also inferior to because
He moved from Turkey to, like, America, right?
no, he's a German actually. He
Yeah.
was German,
Okay.
he's of Turkish ethnicity. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess he's inferior, right? He felt
Yeah,
inferior.
so I guess
I
I guess
think
Germany is
what is happening
inferior.
is that he's actually admitting to that him having, like, personality, like this kind of weak personality, him being like this kind of weak-minded individual, where he has to move to another country to feel better about himself. But that's
Yeah,
not true for everyone
exactly.
else. That's
Yeah,
true for you,
that's right.
maybe.
Yes,
But
exactly.
that's not true for everyone else. Because the
Yeah,
thing is that
I'm not.
most
Yeah.
of the cases,
Mm.
when people move to another country, is because for financial reason they want to help their own country, right? They want
Yeah.
to send money to their country, and it's a
Exactly.
business deal. It's not like they're staying there for free. They have to pay money.
Yeah.
They're also contributing in the economy, right?
Yes.
So this
Yes.
idea
That's
that
right. That's right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Like me, for example, I'm not moving to the United States anytime soon. I'm still in
Yeah.
Malaysia. I'm still living in Kuala Lumpur. So
Yeah,
what does
yeah.
that mean? That means that Islam is better for me here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Also, another thing is that when the colonizers moved to America and kind of like
Yeah.
had this conflict with the Native Americans,
Yeah.
were the Native Americans better off? Like, why did they move there? Like,
Yeah.
why did they move there? Like,
It's really a
this
dumb
is
argument.
brain dead logic.
I know. I noticed that a lot of these Christians, the right-wing Christians especially, they actually adopt this kind of argument. They say that the reason why those who are actually if you notice the politics of the far right European Christians, and even in the US, the far right Christian in the US, they say they accuse the Muslims of overflowing the countries. Moving into these countries, right? And the reason they say that the reason is because their culture is much more superior, their religion, Christianity, much more superior. So the Muslims who move into their countries should adopt their culture.
That's a funny thing, right?
Yeah,
Their own ancestors came from another land.
Yeah, exactly.
Their ancestors come from another land, like Anglo-Saxons. They're not native to, like, the British Isles.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. They were originally Vikings. They're from Scandinavia. They moved to and Germany even. So they moved to
I guess,
to the islands, the British Isles. Yeah.
So basically, these people are admitting to being like this kind of weak people that move to another place. Of course, we're not saying that. They're saying that.
No, you're not saying that. I mean, I didn't even say that at all during the debate. You see. Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue.
Okay.
Thank you very much for that opening statement as well. Before we jump into the open dialogue, I do want to mention, folks, this is a huge stream, not only because of this huge debate, but also because.
Okay, so as you noticed, he didn't even reply to a single point that I made in my in my slides. Okay, So what did I mention in my slides? I mentioned about the cohesiveness of Tawhid. I mentioned about the logicity of
You don't want
Tawhid.
to miss it. That's
I
when
mentioned that Tawhid has brought Muslims together and has introduced laws, ethics, societal cohesion. I also mentioned that Islamic art was also influenced by Tawhid, and of course I've shown examples of Islamic art which shows that Islam has contributed to society by producing such beautiful art as well. And then I mentioned about the societal laws, the moral ethics which came from
Wait,
Tawhid, and all these things.
did you see this kind of like this poster? He's having a debate about
Yeah,
whether
I did. Yeah, he's having a
support
live
Zion-
debate with. Yeah, I think he's the one who's supporting Zionism. He'll
Yeah.
be the one who's supporting Zionism. Yeah, so
Oh,
yeah, so it's a
I
live
mean,
debate. I
this is
think.
hilarious because
Yeah,
the Zionists
yeah.
are literally bombing Christians in Palestine right now. And they're
You
having
see, you need to.
debates.
Yeah, you need to understand that it's only the Western Christian, the Christian event of the evangelical strain who are pro-Zionist. You see, Orthodox Christians, they are not usually pro-Zionist. In fact, a lot of them are actually against Zionism. If you ask those in the Orthodox Church, the ones from the churches from the Middle East, especially, you will find that most of them are actually against Israel and against what Israelis have done. So, and of course, there are those who are pro-Zionist, but those are people who have been influenced by Western Zionism, or those who are not from these churches. Yeah.
Yeah, this is hilarious.
one of the events
Yeah.
where we will be using these camera lenses. We need to purchase them within
Yeah.
1
And
week
also, you need
in order to actually use.
yeah.
And that Christianity is,
So another thing you need to keep in mind is that Apus claims to be an Orthodox Christian. So
Oh, really?
traditionally, the Orthodox Orthodox Christianity. So traditionally, Orthodox Christianity is against Zionism. Yeah, yeah,
So he's arguing for Zionism.
yeah, and it's arguing for Zionism. So yeah, figure that out. Yeah,
That's hilarious.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's a contradiction.
At the top, or the Christian societies are at the top, whereas Muslim societies are not. We see the state of Muslim society. So if we're going to talk about whether Christianity or Islam are better for society, we see the
State of
it's
Muslim
going to
society.
circles.
Which Muslim society? You're talking about Saudi Arabia?
State of society.
Most Saudis are more richer than you.
Yeah,
Can ever
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, I would say that even Malaysian society, the Muslims in Malaysia are much more richer than those who are living in the US.
I mean,
Some of them, yeah.
I mean, the thing is
Yeah.
that they're kind of like there are a lot of problems in America, like
Yeah, there is.
homeless
There are.
problem and
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah.
And there are many Muslim countries that where like these things are not that much of an issue.
I mean, the world isn't perfect, right? There will always be poverty and societal problems in every country, not just Muslim countries alone. Regardless whether you're Muslim or Christian, whichever country you live in, there are always going to be political, societal problems, socio-economic problems.
Yeah,
But that doesn't really have a correlation with religion. Okay.
Yeah. That's good.
the results of both, right? We see the fruits, as we say, of both of these. And it seems that even Muslims, considering that they want to travel and immigrate to Western nations in masses all the time still, know very well, just like everybody else, that the Christian fruits are better than the Islamic fruits. Nobody wants to just eat the Islamic fruits.
Yeah,
Look at this moron. Like, like his argument is that Muslims are traveling to Western countries and Western food is better than Muslim food. That's the reason. But people travel.
Totally didn't touch on anything I said. My God. Okay. Yeah.
This guy's a moron. Like
I don't remember why I replied. Let's play. Yeah. However.
Yeah. So when the Americans moved to when the colonizers moved to America, I guess it was because of the amazing foods that the Native Americans had. And when the British colonized India, I mean they need to have that curry, man. They need to that curry. that kind of like
oh my God, yeah.
Those naans, those curries and naans that Indians have. The British they didn't have it.
Perhaps, yeah. It's really ridiculous, man. His arguments are ridiculous, man.
Those British, they were like in their kind of like mansions, and they're like, we need those Mughlai foods,
we need those
biryanis.
Oh, we need this biryani. Only
how
Muslims.
must biryanis?
Yeah,
How must
only
biryanis?
yeah, the masala or the shawarma or something. We need those. We need to go to the Middle East to invade them because we need to have some
Yeah.
fatush and shawarma. Only.
Not just that. Like imagine the Israelis thinking to themselves,
Yeah.
we need to have the hummus, man. Without the hummus, we can't live.
Yeah.
That's why they invade. Kind of like
Yeah,
Palestine.
and you know what's the funny part about that? Because Israelis, in some parts of New York and even in New Zealand, you'll find that there are
Yeah.
Israelis with their food carts. They
Yeah.
advertise Israeli hummus. Israeli hummus. I didn't know that Jews love hummus.
Right.
Yeah, European invaders from Europe who came to the Middle East to occupy Palestine, they are claiming that hummus comes from them.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I think they also say that like Israeli date, right? They sell
Israeli
kind of
date.
like
Yeah, they
whenever
do.
these are Palestinian
Israeli
dates.
dates, yeah. Israeli dates. And then they took over the land. Basically, the orchard belongs to the Palestinian. They just took over it and then they say, oh, those are Israeli dates. Yeah. That's what they have done.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Okay, sure.
I actually have a lot to say about your opening statement. I find that you seem to have ignored most of my opening statement. The points I made.
Right from the beginning, I cornered him on that.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a Christian society today. Most of what we see now in the Christian West are secularized, and they are, Christian societies
See?
are basically.
I pointed that out, didn't I?
So if you want to talk about human rights, women liberties, freedom of religion, etc., these are all born from secularism in the West. So it has nothing whatsoever to do with the
How do you,
Exactly,
how do you
see?
imagine a Christian
what do you mean it's not true?
I refuted his point, man. In just one line, in one sentence. I refuted his point, didn't I?
By the way, I'm kind of wondering, like, what is he searching for? He's searching like here and there. Oh my God, ChatGPT,
ChatGPT, help me, ChatGPT. TMA is trying to corner me. I need to win this debate to save my face.
Help, ChatGPT. There's that meme of like what Kevin Hart saying, like, help me, help me,
help me.
Yeah.
Or you mean like the scene in Star Wars, when Leia said to the hologram, "Help me, Obi-Wan. You're my only hope."
Yeah, exactly.
See how,
okay, how do you imagine a Christian society? How do you imagine a Christian society?
How would I imagine a Christian society?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is a very good point, which is that how are you saying these countries are actually quote unquote Christian society? How do you define Christian society?
Yeah, I mentioned it. I said that they should be following the law.
In like 16th century Christian society, are the Catholics in the 16th century Christian society? What the kind of like the deviant groups that existed? I think Ebionites, and some of these other groups, heretic groups that were walking around naked because they believe that people.
Edomites. Yeah, you're talking about that. No, not Edomite. Edomites.
Adamites. Adamites are walking around naked.
Yeah, they were walking around naked. Yeah.
Were they like the proper representation of Christian society? If not, why not? Why these naked people that are going around claiming that Christians?
Exactly. Yeah.
So So basically, he's just doing cherry picking. Like he's choosing which Christian society were prosperous. He's choosing those societies and ignoring societies that were basically walking around naked because those don't serve his purpose.
Exactly.
That's actually a question you should ask yourself.
And that's the thing. Like there is no such thing as quote unquote Christian society. Most of the societies are secular. So
that is exactly what I mentioned in my debate. You see.
Yeah. So this point of making saying that the Christian societies are better than Muslim societies because look at Muslim countries now, it doesn't work because like Christian societies doesn't exist.
Yeah, I agree.
So you have a very valid point. That's what it is.
I think if you read the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament, I think it's pretty much clear. Like for example, you bring up the issue about apostasy. Why Muslims have laws for apostasy? I mean, back when you were an atheist, you could actually get away with doing that, but since now you have declared yourself to be a Christian,
I cornered you on this one.
Look at his face.
He got cornered, man. He got cornered, man.
What you're saying of Christian societies, because you say that there are no Christian societies today. So in order to make a claim, you have to establish a Christian society, to then explain why today's societies aren't Christian societies. So in your view, what is it?
And then he interrupts me.
Society would be a society that follows the laws of the Bible.
Such as
such as medieval Europe, for example. I think they tried their best to follow
Such as?
the laws.
Such as what laws? Medieval Europe is not a law. What laws, for example?
What do you mean whatever laws? I mean,
Like, does he have a comprehension problem? Like you basically
Yeah,
said,
I know. I just gave him the answer, right, and he repeats the same question
Yeah.
again. Why?
yeah, like look at Christian societies back in like I don't know, like 14th, 18th, 16th century,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
How did
Yeah.
they function? Like the
Yes.
Catholic Church or the church in general had a massive amount
Yes.
of power,
Yes.
and they basically dictated what even the kings could or could not do, right? And there are many clashes because
Yeah.
of that. So
Yes.
and that's
right.
basically how the Christian society functioned, where
Yeah.
Christian nations were ruled by Christian laws.
Yeah, the
Right.
authority of the church. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm,
And
mm.
the king was given authority. Even the king was given authority by
Yeah.
God, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yes. Yes.
so this idea, maybe he's having comprehension problems because, like, because he's still stuck in trying to find ChatGPT answers. But yeah, I don't think he understands. Oh,
Yeah,
what
I don't think he comprehended what I said because he just kept repeating the point over and over
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
and then I already gave my answer, right? Yeah.
I mean, there's so many examples in medieval Europe. I mean, I can't think of any particular example, but you could take a
You
look at how
can't. So you can't judge. So you can't look at Christian societies today or post-Christian societies and
there's no such thing as a Christian society today. That's the
Okay,
point.
why? Why? Why?
That's
That's
exactly the
what
point.
I'm asking. That's what I'm asking you.
I was just going to explain that. Okay, according to just now you were mentioning about the apostasy laws, right? You say that Islam does this and that against apostate. Sure, but the problem with your claim is that since now you're already a Christian, you should take a look at Deuteronomy 13, where he says that kill all the apostates who
Why did he change his why did he change his video to his? Oh, I didn't notice that when I was answering him. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Why did he do that?
look at his face. He's like,
Yeah.
ChatGPT,
Yeah,
I
he's
can't find ChatGPT answers against this. I need help.
This Muslim is trying to corner me.
As a Christian who claim to believe in the Bible, why are you not following the law?
Because Muslim apologists, I'm kind of surprised that you would actually bring this up, considering that you are somebody who has engaged with interreligious debates for a very long time, and you make yourself out to be as somebody who understands what he's talking about and as kind of an authority on these topics. So,
Yeah. So
you should be aware that that there is a concept in Christianity which is called the
Okay, he's gonna say something
yeah,
incredibly
yeah,
dumb. Get ready for it.
law, right? The
yeah.
Old Covenant and the New Covenant,
Yeah.
and it is
Covenant
very
and
very
New
clear,
Covenant,
very clear in the Christian Bible and in Christianity that
oldest
that
excuse in the
Christians,
world.
followers
Every
of Jesus
Christian
are not
ask will
supposed to
answer this way.
enact
Yeah.
the laws that were binding upon the Jewish population in the
Yeah,
Old Testament.
yeah,
That is
sure,
why it's a New
sure,
Testament, a New Covenant,
sure.
where Jesus comes and says, take this of my new covenant for you. So, Paul,
Like this idiot
Yeah.
doesn't understand. He's supposed to be a
Yeah.
Christian. He doesn't understand what the new covenant
Yeah.
even is.
Yeah.
Like this is beyond stupid. Like the new covenant doesn't mean that like everything that happens in the Old Testament is redundant. Like even the
Yeah.
Christian apologists don't say that. Like,
Yeah.
they don't say that everything in the Old Testament is redundant or
Yeah.
they're not no longer relevant. They don't say that.
Mhm.
Because the thing is that even if you go by the New Testament, there are many things in the New Testament that you have problem with, right?
Mhm.
Like for example,
Yeah.
in the New Testament, girls are supposed to cover themselves. They're not supposed to show their hair. So what are you going to do with that? You're going to allow that in Western countries, in America? If not, then how are you Christian?
He actually touched on that. He actually touched that during the debate. He said that it's not compulsory. It's not. Yeah. That's the best.
It literally says
excuse
that
that you could make,
women cannot speak out loud in churches.
Exactly.
You're gonna
Exactly.
practice that?
I brought that up the issue. Yeah. I brought up the issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is that even I think you mentioned this in the debate itself.
Yeah.
When Jesus himself says that I'm here to
Not to abolish the law, but to
Not to
fulfill
abolish
it.
the law.
Yeah.
but to fulfill it. Like, what does that mean?
Yes.
Like, what does that verse mean?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, like he's supposed to represent Christianity, but it
Mhm.
seems like he failed spectacularly. This is just embarrassing.
Paul explains it very, 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 very clearly that that Christians are not meant to be bound under the law. He himself was still observing it, but
Paul.
Christians from very early on did not observe it, and it was always known to be for Jews, whereas the
Christians are not supposed to be bound by the law, and yet Jesus
Yeah.
himself
Yeah,
said he's bound by the
yeah.
law.
Yeah. The nice logic there. Yeah.
Gentiles, who are
I guess modern Christians know better than Jesus.
coming in and who are now basically becoming the majority of the religion of Christianity were never meant to be under the law. Even in Judaism, it's very obvious. In Judaism, non-Jews are not supposed to follow the law. So it's not a very new, fantastic thing that Christians would come and say, oh, we don't have to follow it. Jews themselves would confirm that Gentiles wouldn't have to follow the law.
Yeah, I would argue that Paul is not a true Christian. Okay, Paul made up his own religion. He made up his own gospel. According to his own words in the epistles, he said that I come to you to preach a gospel, a different gospel. If you read Matthew 5:17, chapter 5, verse 17, you will find that Jesus himself said that, do not think I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I've not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. See, this is a clear statement from Jesus, where Jesus himself said that, Christians, those who claim to follow the ethics of Jesus are supposed to be following the laws of Musa, of Moses.
And the best thing that you could do is to question what fulfill means.
You're saying that Christians are not real Christians who don't follow Christianity properly.
You're not.
But then you declare that Paul is not a real Christian, and you reject Paul's
By the
Christianity.
way, did you notice how he just slided away from the question?
Yeah. I did. Yeah.
He didn't answer that.
He didn't answer my question. I was talking about Jesus, then suddenly he started questioning Paul about my statement about Paul. You should be addressing the issue why Jesus said that versus why you don't follow the Old Testament laws. Yeah.
Let's continue.
I definitely reject everything.
What kind of Christianity are you talking about then? And didn't you just contradict yourself, considering that you said that medieval Christians were following Christianity properly, but then you also said that Paul was not a Christian. So where
I didn't say he put things. He said that I said that Christians were following Christianity properly. I didn't say that, right? I said that the Christians in medieval Europe were trying their best to follow the laws, right? That's what I said, right? Yeah, I didn't say that they were following it properly.
Yeah, let's continue.
Following Christianity, they were following the Christianity of Paul. Where exactly do you get this idea from? That
Let's reverse.
You just contradicted yourself. You just admitted that Christians are bound by the law, and then you also argue that Christianity has to follow the law, despite the fact that you admit that Paul they don't.
I know what I said. Okay, I know what I said. Okay, so can you please let me explain right from the beginning so that you understand the context of where I'm coming from?
Sure. Yes. Go ahead.
All right, and please don't interrupt me. Okay.
Yes.
So the timeline is Jesus came to preach the gospel, the good news, and to tell the Jews to repent. Okay, this is in Matthew chapter, I think it's chapter 3. Okay, and then when Jesus ascended to the heavens, 40 years later, along comes this guy called Paul. So Paul, he claimed to have received visions of Jesus on his way.
So for example, let me show you guys what Jesus said in another verse, because we talked about the other verse where basically Jesus talks about following the Old Testament, but there's another verse that I think that needs to be discussed. Share screen. Let me share it. It's in Matthew. It's also in Matthew. A warning against hypocrisy. It's in Matthew 23, 1-3. It says, Then Jesus said to the crowds and to his disciples, and the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but
everything they tell you,
do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. So what does it mean? It means you need to follow or listen to them in terms of when they're obeying the law of Moses.
Yes.
That's the example he uses, Moses' seat.
Yes.
You must be careful to do everything they tell you. But
Yes.
do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach.
Exactly.
So there's a distinction here. There's a distinction between what they preach and what they practice. And Jesus is criticizing their practice, not what they're preaching. Right? Because what they're preaching is the Old Testament. And the Old Testament is something they have to follow.
Yes.
So that's the point of Jesus. And he literally says a warning against hypocrisy. So if this was the case, that the Old Testament is redundant, why is Jesus saying this? Why is Jesus saying that they do not practice what they preach? Clearly,
why? Yeah, exactly. So why is Jesus saying that you should listen and be careful and do whatever they tell you, but just do not follow what they do, because they do not practice what they preach? Why is that quantifier there? I mean, he could have just said, okay, do not follow them at all. You just follow what I say, right? He could have said that, right? Yeah. So that this means, as far as I can understand, at least from the context of this verse, clearly says that the Christians should be following Mosaic law, what is taught by the Jews.
The teacher of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat.
Yeah,
literally says that.
Literally says that.
Exactly. The law of Moses.
That means which means that Jesus acknowledged that the laws of the Old Testament is something which the Jews do follow. It's just that
Yeah.
the Jews do not practice what they follow. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what they
That was
claim
his
for.
critique. That was his main
Yeah.
critique.
Yeah,
Is that
exactly. Yeah.
Jews themselves do not follow their own laws.
Exactly. And this is what I mentioned in the debate too. So this guy just had comprehension problems, I think.
But
Okay.
do not do what they do. That's the issue. Like
Yeah.
you shouldn't follow what they do.
Yeah.
But listen to the things that are based on the Bible.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because they don't practice what they preach, which means the things they're preaching is correct, but what they're practicing is not correct.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
The preaching is basically the laws of Moses, because it literally says
Exactly.
Moses' seat. So it can't get any more clearer than this. It's absolutely clear.
Yeah.
And here, this clown and this kind of like Christians.
I think this clown has been listening to too many Protestants, because usually this kind of argument comes from Protestants. They don't come from Orthodoxy. I don't think an Orthodox Christian would argue this way. I think they would do it a bit differently. Yeah, but this guy is he's like arguing. Maybe I think because he's been sitting too close to David Wood, so some David Woodian thought has crept into his theology. So that is why he's arguing the way that he does. This is a Protestant argument. This is not an Orthodox argument. Yeah.
Exactly. Because the thing is that it's very clear that Jesus is talking about law of Moses. This is something that the rabbis preached, but they did not practice it.
Yeah.
So they need to be careful to not follow what they practiced, but rather follow what they preached, because what they preached was correct.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's continue.
Way to Damascus. Although ironically, this was only recorded in Acts, but none of these experiences of him meeting Jesus on his way to Damascus was ever mentioned in the epistles. So Paul concocted this idea that Jesus came as a sinless man because all mankind has been born with sin due to the original sin of Adam alayhi salam, who ate the forbidden apple, and I believe you know the story. So,
by the way, bro, did you notice how he basically kind of like derailed the whole conversation?
I know.
The whole debate was supposed to be about which leads to better society, right?
Yes. Unfortunately, I had to explain this because he couldn't understand the concept, so I had to start from the beginning in order to understand, in order for him to understand where I'm coming from. Because if I were to go a bit more advanced, he totally couldn't get the point. You see?
Yeah. So instead of kind of like addressing those points, he's basically kind of just completely.
Yeah, I totally went into theology instead now.
Think that, what makes you think Jesus did this, or what makes you think Paul was not like a Christian? But that's not the topic of the debate.
Yes,
the
exactly.
reason you brought that up was to like kind of like counter some things he said.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
That's not the topic of the debate. He just completely derailed the whole conversation.
I know he did. I was aware of that, but I had no choice. I had to, because given the time that I had and also the constraints of the debate, I had to explain it. Yeah, otherwise people won't get it. People will say, "Oh, Apus won because he couldn't answer."
Long story short, Paul created his own ideals, his own framework. Okay, we're not going to. The topic of the debate is basically about Islam.
Yeah.
And
see, I said that, right? I said that, right?
About this, but long story short, again, Paul's ideals of Christianity, or what you call Christianity today, is totally different from the ethics of Jesus. So clearly, if you look at the Gospels, you'll find that Jesus followed the law. He practiced as a Jew.
See?
He did everything as a Jew.
You're making the same argument that I did in the debate.
Christians should not follow the law. Christians can do this. Christians can do that, which is totally opposite of what Jesus taught.
Okay, can I share my screen here, James, for a second to show Muslim apologists something?
See?
Okay. So I want to read to you from the Bible.
He's gonna show the ChatGPT answer. I found the ChatGPT answer. ChatGPT find an answer.
Here we have it.
Let me
I found ChatGPT's answer to the problem.
Matthew 12:1-8.
Okay, Lord,
the time Jesus raised on the Sabbath.
Yeah, this is David's argument.
Hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath."
This is the same argument that David Wood raised during his debate with Alex. Yeah, this was the same point that David Wood raised when he was debating Alex O'Connor. It's exactly the same point.
Actually, let's read this passage.
Okay, yeah, sure.
At that time, Jesus went through the grain fields on the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick some heads of grain and eat them. When the Pharisees saw this, they said to him, "Look, your disciples are doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath." By the way, can I get a clarification? Is it actually not allowed to eat in Sabbath? or
not in this situation. I think this is basically what Jesus is saying here. Is the situation is about life and death, right? Because the disciples were hungry; they had no food. So I mean,
No, but
you can't,
in the Sabbath, do they
In the
basically
Sabbath,
fast?
no. Frankly, no. They're not actually allowed to, do work. Actually, this is about working, because the work, because the disciples were picking some grains, right? So that is a form of working. So
Yeah, but
it's not allowed
so
according to the Jewish law.
then that argument doesn't work because it's not work, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, if you're
exactly.
eating something, that's not work.
Yeah, exactly. This is what the Jews understand by work, lah. But of course, that is what Jesus responded. What he did, you see, you can see his answer.
He answered, "Haven't you read what David did when he and his companions were hungry? He entered the house of God, and he and his companions ate the consecrated bread,
food,
which is not lawful for them to do, but only for the priest. Or haven't
Yes.
you read in the law that the priest on Sabbath duty in the temple desecrated the Sabbath and yet are innocent? Tell you that something greater than the temple is there. If you had known what these words mean, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the innocent, for the Son of Man is Lord of the Sabbath." So basically, that's the point, right? Like basically, we have this similar rule in Islam as well, where if you can't find anything to eat, you can even eat the unlawful things, right?
Yes.
Because otherwise you would die. You would die. This doesn't mean that the Sabbath or like the rules that the Jews had at the time was completely invalid.
Yes.
Because the thing is that Jesus did come to the Jews, right? So he didn't abrogate their law. But the thing is that even if he did, as a prophet, he had that right, right?
Yeah.
He could have abrogated the law.
Yeah, but of course, in this context, he did not do that. Yeah,
he didn't do this.
Do that. Yeah, he
So,
didn't do this. Yeah, he actually upholded it. He's just saying that the context in which the law is applicable here does not apply to the disciples. You see.
Yeah. So what like Apus or Ridvan is trying to prove, it doesn't get proven by this verse. If anything, it debunks it. It debunks it because Jesus is literally quoting the Old Testament. He's showing an example of David. So he's not going outside the theology. If he was going outside the theology,
he's giving
all
examples.
you follow is wrong, right? He has the
he's
authority because he's supposed to be God.
Exactly. He's giving examples from the Old Testament where it is allowed for his disciples to eat the food, even though it was the heads of the grain, even though was during Sabbath, because there were examples of David doing this, and there were also examples of the priests doing this as well. Yeah.
So basically, he's making a theological argument. He's not like denying that.
He's not saying, "Oh, the law doesn't apply to me. I just can do whatever the fuck I want."
He never said that.
He didn't say this. Yeah, he never said this. Yeah, he never said this.
Basically, he's strawmanning Jesus.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like that's what.
But this is exactly the argument that David used against Alex to prove that Jesus was God.
That is another debate we need to review.
Yeah, we should be doing that soon.
I mean, that must have been embarrassing. I mean, like, this is bad. Like, this doesn't prove what you're trying to prove. And the Christians do this all the time. That they always bring up these passages, but if you read the passages don't prove their point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, why quote these passages? I don't understand. Like, you're trying to prove that Jesus denied the Old Testament, but here he didn't do that.
Yeah, he didn't do that at all, right? He just said that in this circumstance, it is allowed for us to do what we did because we're not defying the law. We're not saying that the law is applicable to us. You see?
And the thing is that the argument Jesus makes is completely valid.
Yeah.
And it doesn't say that Old Testament laws are like redundant. That's not his point.
He didn't say that at all.
Using Old Testament laws to justify it.
Yeah.
Right?
He gave examples from the law to justify what he did. You see?
Exactly.
Oh my God! Yeah, these Christians, they always do this.
Ate the consecrated bread, which was not lawful for them to do, but only for the priests. Or haven't you read in the law that the priests on Sabbath duty in the temple desecrate the Sabbath and yet are innocent? I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. If you had known what these words mean, I desire mercy, not sacrifice, you would not have condemned the innocent. For the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. This is, if you understand the lingo here, this is Jesus declaring himself to be God and to be the.
Where did he get this?
because the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. He just took this one part of the whole context. He just took So because the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath, therefore it means that Jesus is God. Okay.
This is the thing. Jesus is not even talking about himself. He's talking about people that are hungry. Like, what are you talking about? But that's not the
my
point of Jesus.
God.
He's not
My
saying that
God.
I'm God. Like how does that contribute to that? Right?
I
This is a
don't know
complete
how.
straw man.
I really cannot understand
And
these
this is the
Christians
thing, right?
sometimes.
Like the Christians, they basically distort like what Jesus actually said, even
Yeah.
in the Bible. Like
Yeah.
they're literally corrupting it, and we're seeing it
Yeah.
live right now. This is
Yes.
how they
Yes.
corrupt their own books. The thing is that, of course, like we don't say that everything in the Bible is like accurate, but the thing is that even within this kind of like whatever accurate things they may or may not have, even
Yeah.
within that they're corrupting it.
Exactly.
They're corrupting their own
Exactly.
teachings.
Yep. Yep.
So like, it's ridiculous.
ruler over the Sabbath, and thereby saying, you guys don't know the law. If you did know, you would not talk like this. And basically justifying his own disciples breaking the Sabbath law. And then we have something else, which is Jesus directly saying, Jesus called the crowd to him and said, listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them. He then further says, don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them, for it doesn't go into their heart, but into their stomach, and then out of the body. In saying this, Jesus declared all foods clean. This is after Jesus repeatedly eats with folks that are not that he's not supposed to be eating with. Participates in non-Jewish activities that are forbidden in the Old Covenant, that are forbidden on Sabbath, and so on. These are in not repeatedly eat their stomach and then out of the body. In saying this,
Hold on, let's read this. Thus you nullify your word of God by your tradition that you have handed down, and you do many things like that. Again, Jesus called the crowd to him and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this: nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them." After he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciple asked him about the parable. "Are you so dull?" he asked. "Don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them? For it doesn't go into their heart, but into their stomach, and then out of the body."
Yeah, you
Saying,
probably need to
yeah,
you probably need to go a bit further to. I mean, you probably need to get the whole context of this verse, because I don't think that's the full context.
yeah, yeah,
Probably
yeah.
need to, yeah, yeah.
Let me find the. Where is it actually?
I think this is
Matthew
in
12.
yeah,
What?
I don't. Yeah, maybe you
Matthew
can check
12.
Matthew. Yeah, Matthew. Yeah, just check Matthew 12.
Matthew 12.
Yeah.
All right, hold on. Let me share the actual thing.
Yeah.
Stop screen. Here we go. Here we go. So it's from 13. So yeah, let me read it. Matthew 12. Jesus is Lord of the Sabbath. At the time, Jesus went through the grain fields of the Sabbath. His disciples were hungry and began to pick.
I think you need to scroll down below, because this one we dealt with this already.
Yeah. Praises it. Look.
Yeah. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Then going on from that place, he went into the synagogue.
Yeah, okay.
Stretch out
Going
your
on
hand.
from the place, he went into the synagogue, and a man with a shriveled hand was there, looking for a reason to bring charges against Jesus. Okay, so this context is important. So clearly, there was a man who wanted to kind of like put Jesus in a problematic position. So they asked him, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath?" Uh, he said to them, if any of you has sheep on it." Oh, hold on. I don't think this is the Matthew 12.
No. This is not the verse. Yeah. You
Oh, it's
probably
not
need
the
to
verse.
scroll down, or maybe it's in a different chapter, different. Maybe it's in a
Yeah.
different chapter, different gospel.
Yeah.
I think it's in a different gospel. Maybe Luke. Can you check Luke or Mark?
I'm not sure. Let me see. At the time, Jesus went through the grain fields.
Or just check GPT and ask it which verse is this. You should tell you.
At that time, Jesus went through.
Yeah, just ask ChatGPT. Just type some of the verses and then ask ChatGPT, where is this verses coming from?
At that time, Jesus went through. Okay, I think this is the one. I found it.
Okay. All right. See. Thank you, ChatGPT.
One. Uh, no, I think this is the one, but okay, no, this is not the one. Hold on.
No, this is not the one.
Oh, wait, hold. Nothing else, but oh, there we go. Mark 7:10-19.
Okay,
Okay.
Mark. Yeah, Mark.
Mark 7.
Yeah,
Let's read whole of
yeah.
Mark.
I don't think he quoted the whole context properly.
Yeah. Oh, let me share the screen because I
Oh my
think
god, I'm feeling a bit sleepy right now.
yeah. By the way, do you want to continue on?
Yeah, let's deal with this and then we can probably stop here and then we can continue
Yeah.
next time.
Okay.
Yeah,
That
because
which
I'm
defile.
starting to be very sleepy. It's very late. It's almost 12. That's why.
All right. That which defiles. The
Yeah, that was pause. Yeah.
Pharisees and some of the teachers of the law who had come to Jerusalem from Jerusalem gathered around Jesus and saw some of his disciples eating food with hands that were defiled, that is unwashed. The Pharisees and all the Jews do not eat unless they give their hand a
A
ceremonial
ceremonial
washing.
washing.
So basically, here already this is problematic because they're talking about some kind of ritual. That's
Yeah,
not necessarily a law from the Old Testament, right?
yeah.
Uh, Holding to the tradition of the elders.
Yeah, that's right.
When they come from the marketplace, they do not eat unless
Unless
they
they
wash.
wash. Yeah,
Uh, and they observe many other traditions, such as washing of cups, pitchers, and kettles. So the Pharisees and the teachers of the law asked Jesus, "Why don't your disciples live according to the tradition of the elders instead of eating their food with defiled hands?" He replied, "Isaiah was right when he prophesied about you hypocrites, as it is written, oh, sorry, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. They worship me in vain. Their teachings are merely human rules."
yeah.
And then he
Basically,
says,
yeah.
"You have to let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions."
Yes.
And he continued, "You have a fine way of setting aside the commands of God in order to observe your own tradition. For Moses said, 'Honor your father and mother,' and anyone who curses their
Yeah.
father and mother is to be put to death.
Yeah.
But you say, if anyone declares that what might have been used to help their father or mother is korban, that is devoted to God, then you no
Yeah.
longer let them do anything for their father and mother.
Yeah.
Thus, you nullify the word of God by your tradition that you
Yeah.
have handed down, and you do many things like that. So
Yeah.
basically, the point that Jesus is making is that when it comes to exceptions, right? He's talking about exception in religious ruling,
Yeah.
because that is what the debate is about.
Yes,
The
that's right.
debate is not about
Yeah.
whether or not this law is valid, like the Old Testament
Yeah.
laws are valid or not. The debate
Yeah.
is about
Yeah.
an exception. Can an exception
Yeah.
be made or not? Like, for example, what
Yes.
Jesus is arguing is that when it comes to the rabbis always makes exception to
Yeah.
to the Old Testament.
Yeah.
But when it comes to exception of other people, where there might be a need for it, all of a sudden
Yeah.
they have an issue with it.
The
Right?
problem with it. Yeah.
Right? That's basically his point. He's not saying
Yeah.
that Old Testament laws are redundant or they're not
Yeah.
relevant.
It doesn't
He
say
never
anything of the
said
sort.
this.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
never said this.
Mm.
As I have handed down. Again, Jesus
Mm.
called the crowd to him and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them." So basically, he's saying that you cannot be defiled by things outside, but rather, I think maybe your behavior or whatnot is what defiles you.
Yeah. That's what it
After
means. Yeah.
he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciple asked him about this parable. "Are you so dull?" He asked, "Don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them?
Yeah.
For it doesn't go into their heart, but into their stomach, and then out of the body." So,
Yeah.
so basically, this is nothing to do with like what Apus is saying.
No, nothing to do with it at all. Yeah,
Let
totally
me
nothing to do with
finish
it.
it actually. He went on, what comes from a person is what defiles them. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come: sexual immorality, theft, murder, etc. Adultery,
Yeah,
greed, malice, deceit.
yeah. He's talking about free will.
Yeah, yeah. So
Free will.
basically, his point is that, like, when it comes to these kind of like exceptions, the rabbis, they make exceptions that's not allowed.
Yeah.
But he, as a prophet of God, when he saw that there's a need for an exception to be made, all of a sudden it's
Yeah.
not allowed, right?
Yeah.
He's calling out the hypocrisy here.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
basically he's saying that people cannot be like defiled by by like going outside, but rather when people have like bad thoughts, that's what
Yeah.
defiles them.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he's saying. Free will, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically this idea, this argument that they're making, that, oh, you should like wash your hands and whatnot, his point is that, like, maybe these people were hungry and they didn't have the time to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And whatnot. So like, he's not saying that this law is necessarily wrong.
Mm.
He's just saying that it's not like that itself is not such a big deal.
Yeah. Not a big deal. Yeah. It's not a big deal for the situation. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what
Like
he's
his
saying.
point
But he's
is
not
not
saying
like
that the law is abolished. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
the laws are abolished, like how
Yeah.
like, April
Nothing whatsoever. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shall we stop here?
Yeah, let's continue.
Jesus called the crowd there and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a person can defile them by going into them. Rather, it is what comes out of a person that defiles them." He then further says, "Don't you see that nothing that enters a person from the outside can defile them, for it doesn't go into their heart but into their stomach, and then out of the body." In saying this, Jesus declared all foods clean. This is after Jesus repeatedly eats with folks that are not that he's not supposed to be eating with. Participates in non-Jewish activities that are forbidden in the Old Covenant, that are forbidden on Sabbath, and so on. These
Which non-Jewish activity?
That's totally not what the
That's not what he
context
said.
is.
And
Yeah,
he
that's not
didn't
what he said.
say-
That's not the context.
Say that you can do any kind
That's
of
not-
like non-Jewish things. That's not allowed
Yeah.
in the Old Testament.
Yeah. He doesn't say that you can just suddenly eat pork. He
Yeah.
didn't say that. Yeah. Mhm.
These are just few examples here, just two examples.
Here again, like, please note, this is talking about an exception, an exception, right? Like, for example, here basically his disciples were eating, and
Yeah.
they're saying, "Oh, you didn't like." He's not really saying you shouldn't wash your hand. He's saying that you shouldn't do this kind of like whole kind of like ritual. That's not necessary because you basically make exceptions to rules that are much more important than this.
Yeah. Exactly.
So-
Exactly.
And the thing that you need to understand is that Jesus can make that kind of exception because he's a prophet of God. He's not like some random person.
Yeah.
Examples of Jesus clearly breaking the law of the
He didn't break any law. Well, breaking law would and again, please note. Let's go back to the previous verse where Jesus basically show example of it. David making exceptions to the law.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where he says that the people are the people are the son of the Sabbath, right?
Yeah.
Meaning that Sabbath is for the people.
Son
People
of
are
man
not-
is the Lord Sabbath. Yeah. Yeah.
Basically, the people, if there's a need for it, can sometimes make exceptions to some religious rulings. Like
Yeah.
how we have in our religion, where if someone is really hungry and there's nothing to eat, they can eat harm things. Right? It's basically that.
Yeah.
So maybe the condition
Yeah.
was the same here, or maybe they were really
Yeah.
hungry and they didn't have water, or maybe they didn't have access to water, so they ate it. So there's no contradiction. There's visible contradiction of like the Old Testament laws.
Old Covenants,
Okay.
breaking the law of the Sabbath. Here he's breaking the law and even verbally, directly, explicitly declaring what is forbidden allowed, meaning food that is
Nowhere did he say that.
No.
not kosher. He
No.
declares
Oh, by
kosher.
the way, did you notice how Apus is shaking his chair?
He declares allowed for everyone. He says,
Yeah, I
these are
noticed
all
that.
allowed.
Yeah.
Did you
Yeah,
notice
I
that?
did. Yeah, I didn't
If you are
notice
telling me
it.
that he perfectly followed the law.
I didn't
then
notice
the
it. I didn't notice it during the
or
debate. Yeah.
Gnostics.
That's not what the verses are saying. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
I think
what does it say?
I think you totally misunderstand, and you're using the same arguments that David would did against Alex. Okay, so as for the on the issue of the law of the Sabbath, I think
Oh no, poor Apus. His chat GPT can help him now.
Poor Apus.
He's scared. No chat GPT can help him.
I
No,
think Alex
ChatGPT
O'Connor
alone.
has already explained that, and I agree with his position somewhat. But my take on it would be that as a whole, okay, Jesus came to reform the laws of the Jews. Okay, he as Matthew 5:17, he says he has no intention of abolishing the law. to fulfill the law. What does it mean by fulfilling the law? So it means that Jesus wanted to reform the law so that it is less harsh, less.
Yeah, like the thing is that when he says that he is here to kind of like fulfill the law, not necessarily kind of like abandon the law.
No,
It basically means
that's not what that wasn't even what I said. So right, I said reform the law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically saying that he's here to obey the law.
Yes.
But not like the Jews, where
No.
the Jews are added nonsense
Yeah.
into the
Yeah.
religion that has nothing to do
Exactly.
with the actual law.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. Exactly.
Like the whole kind of like wateristic, like water-based rituals. Like, is that in the
Yeah.
Old Testament? I don't think so.
Yeah,
look
rigid
at the law.
rituals. Yeah, rigid rituals and rigid understanding of the law. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Harsh
that's
understanding
basically
of the law.
what Jesus is challenging. He's not
Yes.
challenging the law itself.
No, it's not at all.
So it's basically a straw man.
Yeah,
less abusive and more applicable for in terms of ethics and morality. Because when Jesus came, he preached the idea of empathy and love into the
But he broke the
laws
law.
of the Jews.
No,
So
he
he
didn't
did not
follow
break the law. He reformed the law, but he did not break the law. He reformed the
So
laws.
now
Yeah.
you're redefining what it means. So he changes the law, but you are telling me that he.
You are saying that he
Nice.
changed the law.
Straw
but
manning
not
me,
changing the law.
see?
It's just a reform of the ethics. He did not say in the verse that you
Reform
cited. Did the verse that you cited anyway says that Jesus allowed for pork to be consumed?
He said that nothing that comes out from your body into your body defiles you.
Then why
What
was
is
it
that?
that in the story of Acts that when Paul was preaching things that were against the law, why against the Jewish law, why did the apostles Peter and James, why were they upset with Paul and they wanted to bring
Yeah,
him
they can't
someone
answer
into
it.
council and ask him directly, why are you trying to
I feel
change
like
the law?
I feel like this debate should be more about your misunderstanding of Christianity than about Islam versus Christianity. What is better for society? The whole idea
Well,
is that there are initial internal disagreements on whether the law applies to Jews or not. Paul himself is a Jew.
Again, like he didn't
Yeah.
show any example of where Jesus said that the law of the Old Testament are no longer valid.
Yeah,
Like, it's a simple statement. Surely Jesus could have said that if that's the
Yeah.
case. Why did he say that? Like,
No.
show us one verse upon the mouth of Jesus where he said that
Yeah.
you don't have to follow the law of the Old Testament. Why did he say that?
no, nothing.
It's such a simple
Zero.
thing.
Yeah. Also, if you notice, he's totally sidetracking the debate. I mean, I just explained that in brief, right, to explain the basic points. But I wanted to go back into the actual debate, which was basically Islam versus Christianity, which is best for society, and he went into a theological debate instead.
Yeah, exactly.
I tried
He
to
already
steer
talked
him
about
to
all
that
Jews.
actually.
And
Yeah.
Paul makes
They
it
were
very, very clear. What?
Of course, they were all Jews.
Yeah. So they were all Jews, but they also an influx of Gentiles coming into the religion, into the faith. So the early discussions are about whether Gentiles who enter the religion have to follow the law, including circumcision, for example, or not. Circumcision is actually a discussion in the New Testament, and the conclusion is basically that the law no longer applies to those who.
That was what Paul wrote.
To whom Jesus brought salvation.
Like, what does that has to do with Jesus?
Yeah, nothing to
Like,
do
the
with
question
Jesus
is
at all.
about Jesus. Like, did
Yeah,
Jesus? You
yeah.
don't have to follow the Old Testament.
Exactly.
Says, no,
Exactly.
he never
That's
said
Paul. That's Paul anyway. Yeah.
He never said that. Not only did he not say that, I remember the verses I quoted from Matthew, where he clearly says that what they preach is valid, right? They do not practice what they preach, which means what they preach is valid, but their practice is not valid. And this is consistent with what he did later on, where he basically criticized these kind of like rituals or water rituals, where people have to do this kind of like old dance or song dance.
Yes,
before
yes.
they eat things. He's criticizing that because that's not part of the kind of like the actual law, and he would know because he's the prophet of God, or according to the email, like he's supposed to be God, right? He should know.
Yeah.
So this whole idea that he's abandoning the law. Where is that? Like, show us an example. Like, show us a verse where he said that. He never said that. Like, don't give us this kind of like early church fathers, like what they said. Surely, if this is such an important thing, Jesus would have mentioned it.
Yeah.
But there's no mentioning.
Exactly.
There's no evidence of this.
Yeah.
That was not what the apostles did.
You don't make any sense.
There are evidence of him telling people to obey the law, right? Like such as the verse of the Pharisees, where he says that they do not practice what they preach.
Yeah.
Completely contradicting yourself.
I'm not contradicting myself at all.
You just argued that
I'm just telling you what happened in Acts. That's all. Yeah, I'm just telling you what happened.
You're just telling me that Paul has a discussion with the others on whether
why did Paul and Barnabas have such a great disagreement that they had to split from each other? Why don't you answer?
Oh, ChatGPT, help me!
Help me, ChatGPT! Help me, ChatGPT! Why is Paul going against Jesus? I can't answer this.
By the way, I don't think he even knows who Barnabas is. It's gonna
He
be
probably
divided.
didn't even read read Acts even.
Yeah.
I don't
No.
think he even has
Honestly, I
any
don't. I
idea.
don't think he knows who Barnabas is. He doesn't
I
know
don't think
Barnabas.
I don't think he even knew about the disagreement between Paul and the apostles until he
Yeah.
used
Yeah.
his ChatGPT. Yeah.
Yeah. ChatGPT, help me.
To answer that.
Are you gonna let me talk or not?
Barnabas was a follower of Peter and James.
Are you gonna let me talk or not?
I don't know what you're talking about. He doesn't know.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. This is a very important part of the story in Acts.
He came to debate Christianity. He doesn't know who Barnabas is.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
Are you gonna let me talk or not?
Go ahead.
Actually, one of the important students
Mm,
of like the early Christianity.
yeah,
Who
yeah,
is?
yeah. Follower of James,
So,
as I mentioned, follower of James and Peter.
We have two issues here, which is that on the one hand, you argue that according to the Gospels, the law has to be followed word for word.
Yes.
You say to me initially that that the Jews are meant to, or that Christians, as instructed by Jesus, have to follow the law of Moses, right? That's what you said earlier. We can go back. You said that they have to follow the laws of Moses. Then I bring to you
Yes,
the
that's
evidence where
exactly what I
Jesus
said. What's
directly
the problem?
Jesus directly breaks the Sabbath, not for something non-essential, not for something essential, by the way, not for an emergency, but rather for picking grain. And he then explains that he is the Lord of the
Yeah, it was
Sabbath. And he
emergency.
declares it allowable and permissible.
Again, like this verse is straw man. Like we
Yeah,
all.
I think. Yeah, I
like,
think he's
this
just.
whole verse is a
he
straw
just-
man. And
yeah,
himself
yeah.
answered that. He showed
Yeah.
examples from life of David to justify what he did. So he's not
Yeah.
going outside of the Old Testament. He's
Yeah,
actually following.
exactly. Yeah,
Otherwise,
right.
why quote David? Right?
Exactly.
If the Old Testament
Exactly.
is not relevant, why is he quoting David?
Yeah, why is he quoting? He could just say, "Oh, because I'm God, I can do whatever the fuck I want. So yeah, just shut up and follow me." That's it,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Why is he quoting David? Like,
Yeah, why does he try to justify it? You see, the thing is, he
in
tries to
Old Testament,
justify his actions. He
He's-
didn't even
he-
say, he
Yeah.
didn't even say, "Don't question me because I'm God." He just said, he said that because the Old Testament says this, David did this, so why can't I do this? I mean, this is what
yeah, exactly.
your own laws taught me. You see, so why is he trying to justify his actions if the laws do not apply to him any longer?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
The thing is that portion doesn't prove anything.
no.
And accuses the priests and the Pharisees of misunderstanding or of making a false judgment because they don't know
My
what they do.
God,
He further
you can
declares
see
all
me
food
being,
clean. So
well,
he declares that
putting
no
my
food
hands
is
on
hereby,
my face palming
any longer
myself.
unclean.
Yeah.
Then it's clean. So he declares that no
I was-
food is
you can see I
hereby
was fist palming.
any longer unclean. Then, however, when I bring this up, you say to me that he came to reform the law to make it more human.
Yeah.
Sorry, didn't you just say a few minutes ago that they were supposed to follow the law of Moses? Now you're telling me that that he came to
What's
reform
the
law
problem
and change
here?
the
Is
law.
there a contradiction with what I said?
Yeah, the thing is that like someone can, like for example, if I say that you need to follow everything your mother says, right?
Okay, right,
But then,
right.
then the person said your mother tells you to go to school. Then there's like an earthquake or like a
Yeah.
massive rain or
Yes,
storm,
yes,
right?
yeah,
And,
yeah.
if you go outside, you might die, right?
yes, yeah.
Your
So you
mother's
don't go
not-
to school. Yeah,
Do you go
Yeah.
then go to school? Of course not.
Yeah.
Like your mother is not saying you should go to school if it means you die outside. That's not
Yeah.
what your mother is saying.
yeah, exactly,
So-
exactly.
So that's the thing. Like he's a prophet of God. Of course, he will understand the nuances of the religion.
Yes,
Well, lay people will
yes,
not understand. Even the rabbis will not understand because they're not a
yes,
prophet,
Yes,
right? So he's
yes,
arguing about the nuances. That doesn't mean the
Yes.
Old Testament laws are not valid.
Yes,
That is what he's
yes,
arguing, and he didn't
Yes.
show any evidence of this. That somehow
Yeah.
the Old Testament laws are no longer relevant.
Exactly.
Where's that? Where's the evidence of that? Like all
He
the
didn't show
examples
any
he showed are
evidence,
about the kind of like the nuanced
The-
kind of like
Yeah,
like extensions of rules and regulation that has nothing to
yes,
do with the Old Testament.
exactly.
So again, like Jesus never said that the Old Testament is no longer valid. He never said that
Exactly.
anywhere.
Yeah,
If I challenge any Christians to show me an example of that, where Jesus said you don't have to follow the Old Testament. As a matter of fact, I don't think even the church leaders say that. So
I don't think they can anyway.
yeah. So this whole argument of Old
Okay.
Testament are not valid is completely false.
Yeah,
Okay,
right. So
do you
yeah,
end this here? Maybe we can continue another time, or do you want
yeah.
to
I think we should stop here because my eyes are really getting watery and I can't think straight anymore.
All right. Right.
Oh, just talking about this particular issue is already like taking a lot of time. I see this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Those
I
who are
think we
watching.
should. Yeah. So when are we going to do part 2?
Yeah, let's do a part 2 maybe next Saturday. We
All
can
right.
do another part.
Sure.
Or
All
we
right.
could do another one. We could react to the brother fighter
Yeah.
is here. Assalamualaikum, bro.
Yeah.
Welcome to the stream. A bit late, but
Hi. Yeah.
by the way,
We're about to end the stream anyway. Yeah.
we're gonna spend like 10 to 20 minutes answering questions. So if you guys have any questions, then we can
Sure.
answer it.
Sure.
But if we don't get any questions, we're gonna end it like in 5 minutes or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. Sure.
If you guys have any question about Islam or like
Yeah.
apologetics
Yeah.
and
Please
whatnot,
ask something which is related to the
yeah.
to the discussion if possible. Yeah.
So let me ask you, bro. So how was your experience during the whole debate? Like, did you think it was like
I
satisfying?
was, for me, well, in doing the debate, I mean, the actual debate, the Q&A, not the Q&A session, I meant the crossfires question between me and Apus. I was like face palming most of the time because I was thinking to myself, this guy totally didn't get what I said. Okay, I said that Jesus came to reform the ethics to bring in, a more compassionate set of ethics to the laws of Moses. Okay, to reform Jewish law, not to change it, not to destroy it, not to remove it. But this guy totally misunderstood what I say. He said, "Oh, you're saying that Jesus came to change the law and Jesus, came to destroy the law." I didn't say that. I said that Jesus came to reform the law. What does reform mean? Reform means to
Reform doesn't mean like bandit.
exactly, to band the laws, right? To improve on the existing laws, not to remove it entirely.
And
So I don't know whether this. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Jesus wouldn't have to like quote the Old Testament to explain to them.
exactly. So the thing is, I don't think, probably he doesn't understand English because I said reform many times. I didn't say remove. Maybe he confused the difference between remove the laws and reform the laws. Okay.
Yeah.
So, my God.
Let me answer this. Have you checked about Surah 29?
I think I know who this guy is.
Whole
Yeah.
kind of like argument. We have addressed it many times. This is a verse that's talking about the context of warfare and what to do in regards to that. There's a whole context of that. Even if you just read the verse, it's about warfare or fighting people during warfare. So it's not about like normal people. So anyway, but yeah, let's continue, bro. What were you saying? You're muted, bro. You're muted.
Oops, yeah, sorry. So so I was saying that the laws that Jesus came, sorry, the purpose that Jesus came about with regards to the law is that Jesus wanted to reform the laws, not to abolish the laws. You see, so I think this guy probably I don't know whether this guy purposefully doesn't understand English, or he doesn't want to understand English, or he totally doesn't understand what I said about reform, because he confused that with saying, "Oh, I'm saying that Jesus changed the law," saying that basically he's saying that I agree with his point about Jesus abolishing the law. Okay, so which is not what I said at all. See,
I think here are the main two problems in regards to Christians or Christian apologists making this argument, right?
Yeah.
The first problem is that when you're saying that the New Testament, having the New Testament means that you no longer need the Old Testament.
Yeah.
The reason that's false is because Jesus himself says that he's not come to like abolish the law, but to uphold the law, right?
Yes.
Now you need to explain to us like what does that mean? And you can just say that it's like say that it's not relevant when Jesus himself said it's relevant.
Yeah.
Right. So you need to some kind of reconciliation. And the second problem is that there are many examples other than that verse where Jesus also said the same thing or similar things. Like for example, where he said that they don't practice what they preach. Here the implication being is that they're sitting on the seat of Moses, meaning the law of Moses, and they don't practice what they preach. Which means what they preach is important, but what they practice is not, right? Meaning the law of the Old Testament is important, but the way they practice the law is not, right? Or there are problems there, and that's what he's pointing out, right? He's talking about a theological issue where the Jews had this kind of like rigid practices that's not part of the original like religion. That was his issue. That's where the conflict came. Like when the kind of like Jews came to him and said that, oh, like why are you eating and whatnot. He again showed example from the Old Testament to prove that this is allowed. And why would it need to do that if the Old Testament is no longer relevant, right? So of course this proves that Old Testament is relevant. And later on when he says that, oh, you need to wash your hand and whatnot. Again, this goes back to the main point, which is that while the law is the by practicing this, remember they're saying that he's saying that they don't practice what they preach. So this could be something that they practice that is not part of what they preach, right? Meaning this is not part of the law. What is part of the law is maybe to eat people and and be healthy and whatnot. But this practice is kind of like water rituals and whatnot. That's not part of the law. Clearly, that's why he's rejecting it. But he's not saying that this whole of like Old Testament is irrelevant. If that was the case, he would never use the Old Testament. He would never say that I came here to fulfill the law, right? So this is why, if you're going to claim that, first of all, there's no evidence that Jesus said that the Old Testament laws are irrelevant. And the second point is that there are many examples where Jesus said that Old Testament laws are relevant. So, so yeah, this is clear-cut proof. But anyway, you want to add something, bro? You're muted, bro.
No, nothing much to add. I think the points that you made are pretty much congruent with what he said. So Jesus's purpose was to reform the Old Testament laws to fulfill, in his own words, to fulfill the law. Fulfill here doesn't mean that he's going to change everything. He's going to abolish everything
I think there's a question.
Okay.
I think he's a Christian. Maybe he asked a question.
Yeah, he is a Christian. Yeah, I think I know who he is. Yeah, so he says if the Old Testament is relevant, he came from my channel. Yeah. Why does Jesus forgive the old
examples of forgiveness exist in the Old Testament?
Yeah.
It's not something Jesus invented.
Also, you need to keep in mind that this story may be patently false because this story is called the pericope adultery, and this story was not found in any of the earliest manuscripts. So some scholars actually said that this story was an interpolation. This story was added into the manuscripts much later. Yeah, just Google it, pericope adultery. Yeah. There's a whole debate about it, whether this story is true or false. I'll type it here, pericope adultery.
Like for example, there's a website. I found a website. Let me share the link of it, where they have. Hold on, let me see if I can. Old Testament. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So basically, if you go to this kind of like I don't know if it's a Catholic or Protestant website, they have stories of like all the examples of kind of like God forgiving the Israelites in the Old Testament. Examples of forgiveness in the Old Testament: Jacob and Esau. In Genesis 33, story of Joseph and his brothers. It's the most powerful.
Most likely this is a Protestant website.
Attempt to murder him and take him to slavery. And years later, so basically, this is a story where Joseph basically forgives his brothers after trying to sell him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there are many examples of like people forgiving other people. So it's not like this is not like unique to Jesus. Like Jesus is simply following the Old Testament, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think just because he forgave someone, that means that somehow that's not he abandoning the Old Testament. If anything, he's upholding the Old Testament.
Not at all. In fact, if you read the actual story, he says that he's not saying that the law shouldn't be implemented. He's saying that whoever feels that he's sinless or he's not sinful, he can cast the first stone. He didn't say, "Oh, you guys shouldn't be casting the first stone or any stones whatsoever because the law has been abolished."
Yeah,
he didn't say this.
He never said that. Basically, he's saying that if you think you can kind of like uphold this punishment, then make sure that you're not sinners yourself, but you are sinners. So you need someone who's not a sinner to uphold this punishment, rather than.
So anyway, regardless, this story is not found in any of the earliest manuscripts. So scholars have pretty much said that this story was added in an interpolation, added into the gospel. Yeah,
that's possible. That's what's possible.
Yeah.
Adultery. Parsipoke adultery. Is it like the name of the
pericope adultery? The name of the passage is called Pericope Adultery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing. Which is, I think we're gonna end the stream soon.
Yeah.
But we have two people watching. If you guys have any questions you want to ask us, you can ask. We're gonna go away soon in like 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think we should end the stream anyways. Yeah, I'm feeling quite sleepy. I thought I could go on for 3 hours more at least, but
Like he again says, not only
I
that
think
he
this guy. I think
was during
this
Sabbath day.
guy. Didn't we address this earlier?
Explain
Yeah,
that.
didn't we explain this
So
earlier?
the
Yeah, we
story
already
of
did. Yeah.
David going into temple and eating, right?
Yeah.
Because the thing is that again, his point is that the whole point of Sabbath is about helping the people, not necessarily people upholding these arbitrary rules, right? So
Yes.
he's not abandoning the Old Testament. He's actually upholding the Old Testament. So
yes.
so like him, like helping people doesn't mean he's like rejecting the Old Testament.
Yeah, doesn't
It's ridiculous
exactly because it's a notion which the Jewish rabbis added into the law. The law just says you cannot do these things doing somebody. It doesn't say that you shouldn't be helping people at all if they are in need. You see, yeah.
Now, of course, as Muslims, we think that both Christianity and Judaism has corrupted teachings. But at the same time, there are some things that matches with Islam. I think this could be one of them, which is that if people are like really desperate, like they're really hungry, they can do things that are unlawful to save their life.
Yes.
So it's not necessarily something that contradicts our teachings. So
yeah, we have the concept of darura. So if let's say you are stuck on an island and there's nothing to eat on the island except for pigs, and you have been living on the island for months and you are hungry without food, there's no the land is basically barren, there's no other food. Okay, you're surrounded by whatever reason, you're surrounded by things which which doesn't enable you to travel far, except for accessing to the pigs living in that area in question. You can eat those pigs if you are hungry and you are about to die if you don't eat them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the concept of darura. So this is basically similar to what Jesus was teaching his people.
Exactly. So and basically that's the whole point. I think Apus, I think Ridvani, I think maybe he's a new Christian. He doesn't understand Christianity without
regardless whether he's new or old, I think he's not really a true Christian in the sense that he fully understands the ethics of Jesus. I think he's just a Christian because of social pressures and because he's been hanging out with David Wood for so long. Even some of his thinkings are actually consistent with Protestant understanding of the law. It's not even Orthodox. I don't think an Orthodox Christian would argue the same way he did.
Well, I guess we should end the stream now.
Yeah, sure.
If you guys have any questions, you can ask. But I think we'll end the stream now.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you guys for joining us. It's been a while.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's always been a pleasure to be on your channel.
Thank you guys for watching and thank you guys for supporting. I know it's been a while since I had a live stream. Inshallah, I'm gonna try to have more live streams as much as I can.
Yeah, on my part, I wouldn't have any live streams on my channel until I've completed this project of mine, which I'm currently doing, involving Ismail Faruqi, as well as a revamp of my Muslim apologetics website. Okay, Refuting Christian points. So I have 2 projects upcoming which I'm focusing on. So there won't be any updates on my channel for now until those 2 projects have been completed.
I have a few projects that may come soon. Look out for that. But I guess that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Let me play the intro and then I'll be on my way.
All right.
Hold on. Where's the intro? There we go. We play the intro and then we'll say goodbyes. And subscribe to the channel and subscribe to brother MENJ's channel, of course.
Subscribe to his channel.
Thank you. Of course, subscribe to his channel. So and inshallah, I'll see you guys next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.